There are places along Florida's coast where the waves crash against empty walls, where the neon signs flicker, and where the salty breeze carries whispers of the lost. Motels that were once safe havens for travelers now hide shadows, echoing footsteps, and rooms where guests disappear without a trace. Check in once, and the receptionist may be long gone. The keys may open doors that lead to nothing. The nights are long, the hallways endless, and the guests they never leave. Tonight, we explore 25 coastal motels haunted not by rumors, but by restless spirits, vanishing visitors, and the unknown lurking just beyond the shoreline. Take a deep breath, because once you enter, the Atlantic tide might not be the only thing pulling you in. Florida's coastal motels are known for their sun-drenched rooms, neon lights, and the endless rhythm of the waves outside. They once offered travelers comfort, a soft bed, and a place to rest before another long road trip. But for some of these motels, the night has a different rhythm. Corridors stretch longer than they should, doors close on their own, and rooms sometimes vanish entirely, leaving nothing but empty walls where someone had been. Some say the spirits of former guests remain trapped, repeating their final moments. Others hear music drifting from vacant rooms, laughter that turns into screams, and knocks on walls when no one is there. Welcome, dear traveler. I am glad you have come. We will walk through the eerie neon glow, the misty parking lots, and the haunted rooms along Florida's coast. Before we step inside, let me ask you something for the comments. Which coastal motel would you dare to stay in for one night if you knew the stories were true? Take a deep breath. Now, the coast is calling. The Ocean Mist Inn in Miami Beach rises along the shoreline like a relic of another time. Its pastel-colored facade reflects the fading light of sunset, and the sound of waves mingles with the soft hum of the city beyond. During the day, the hotel is alive with tourists, laughter, and the scent of salt in the air. Yet as night falls, a quieter, more unsettling presence emerges, lingering in rooms, corridors, and along the sands just beyond the balconies. Guests report waking to find their balcony doors wide open, despite having locked them before sleep. The warm ocean breeze seems ordinary enough, yet the feeling of intrusion remains. Some awaken to shadows moving along the sand below, faint figures that appear briefly before vanishing when approached. Their forms are indistinct, ethereal, like silhouettes caught between worlds, standing at the edge of awareness yet just out of reach. The air around the hotel seems heavier at night, carrying a moisture-laden chill from the ocean. Staff speak in hushed tones about a man in a soaked suit, often seen standing in the parking lot. He stares silently at the water, his posture rigid, his presence commanding the attention of anyone nearby. When approached, he does not turn, does not move, and then slowly dissolves into a thin, curling mist that vanishes entirely. The sight leaves witnesses shaken, yet unable to look away, drawn by an unspoken curiosity. The third floor has gained a reputation even among seasoned staff. Guests have vanished in the dead of night, leaving rooms locked and untouched, beds made as if no one had ever been there. Cleaning crews report items subtly moved or displaced, luggage appearing slightly shifted from where it had been left. Doors that were closed in the evening stand open by morning, and faint footprints appear on the carpet, leading to corners that reveal nothing. Visitors describe the sensation of being watched when wandering through hallways at night. The lighting flickers intermittently, casting long shadows that shift as though alive. A soft hum of energy seems to pulse through the walls, syncing with the sound of waves outside. The hotel itself feels aware, observing every step, every gesture, as though it carries a memory of those who have come and gone over the decades. On the beach below the inn, faint figures glide along the shoreline. They are seldom more than silhouettes, yet their movement suggests purpose. Some guests report pausing to watch, only for the figures to vanish when stepped toward, leaving no footprints in the sand and no trace in the night air. The ocean glimmers with reflected moonlight, and for a brief moment, it feels as if the boundary between reality and apparition dissolves into the salt-laden breeze. The parking lot offers a similar sense of unease. The figure in the soaked suit appears randomly, often standing alone, facing the water with stillness that defies explanation. His presence is accompanied by a subtle drop in temperature, a sensation of moisture on the skin, and the quiet impression of being drawn toward him. When he dissolves into mist, the air feels momentarily altered, charged with a presence that lingers long after sight has failed. Inside the hotel, the third floor remains largely avoided. Staff report that elevators hesitate on this level, lights flicker in hallways, and soft sounds of movement are occasionally heard in vacant rooms. The atmosphere is thick, heavy with an almost tangible anticipation. Guests who have inadvertently spent time here often describe a sense of vertigo, the feeling that the floor beneath them is shifting, or that the walls are stretching ever so slightly to contain unseen activity. The inn itself seems to have a rhythm, synchronized with the ocean and the night. The gentle crash of waves, the rustle of palm leaves, and the soft creak of floorboards combine into a subtle symphony. It is against this backdrop that apparitions appear most vividly, their presence harmonizing with the natural sounds, blending the familiar with the uncanny. The building becomes more than lodging. It becomes a stage, a vessel where the living and the unseen intersect in fleeting, mysterious performances. Visitors often describe sensations rather than concrete sightings. The feeling of cold hands brushing against theirs in empty hallways. Soft whispers that vanish when listened for. Or the impression of movement from the corner of their vision. It is not frightening in the conventional sense, but deeply disquieting, a reminder that the world contains layers beyond immediate perception. The ocean mist and continues to operate as it always has, serving guests by day while retaining its nocturnal mysteries. Those who witness its strange occurrences often leave with memories they cannot fully explain, moments that linger long after their stay. Every balcony, every hallway, and every shadow on the sand seems to carry a story of presence, of attention, and of an energy that refuses to fade. Of presence, of attention, and of an energy that refuses to fade. As the night deepens and the moon casts its silver light across the beach, the inn exhales in quiet rhythm. The soaked suit figure may appear, the balcony doors may creak open, and shadows may ripple across the floors and sands. The soaked suit figure may appear, the balcony doors may creak open, and shadows may ripple across the floors and sands. The third floor maintains its quiet secrets, watching and waiting. The third floor maintains its quiet secrets, watching and waiting. In the Ocean Mist Inn, the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist, where the line between reality and apparition is blurred, and where unseen guests continue their nightly vigil along the edge of the water and within the walls of the hotel. In the Ocean Mist Inn, the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist, where the line between reality and apparition is blurred, and where unseen guests continue their nightly vigil along the edge of the water and within the walls of the hotel. In the Ocean Mist Inn, the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist, where the line between reality and apparition is blurred, and where unseen guests continue their nightly vigil along the edge of the water and within the walls of the hotel. In the Ocean Mist Inn, the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist, where the line between reality and apparition is blurred, and where unseen guests continue their nightly vigil along the edge of the water and within the walls of the hotel. For those who enter, the experience is unforgettable. Every creaking floorboard, every whispering breeze, and every fleeting silhouette reinforces the impression that the inn is alive, with memory and presence. It is a space where the living brush against the unseen, where stories of the past emerge in the night, and where the mysterious pulse of the ocean carries the echoes of those who will never truly leave. The Ocean Mist Inn is not merely a place to stay. It is a space where the living brush against the unseen, where stories of the past emerge in the night, and where the mysterious pulse of the ocean carries the echoes of those who will never truly leave. It is a space where the living brush against the unseen. The Coral Sands Motel sits quietly along the Intracoastal Waterway in Fort Lauderdale, its pastel-colored exterior and retro charm drawing travelers seeking a glimpse of old Florida. By day, it appears cheerful and inviting, with sunlight reflecting off the water and the gentle sway of palm trees in the breeze. Yet behind its friendly FAA sectionade, the motel holds a quieter, darker side that becomes apparent when the sun dips below the horizon and the streets grow silent. Guests who arrive late at night often speak of subtle disturbances that cannot be easily explained. Hallways that seem empty echo with whispers, soft and fleeting, calling out names with an intimacy that is both unsettling and impossible to ignore. The sound drifts from room to room, curling around corners and disappearing as quickly as it arrives. It is the kind of noise that causes the skin to prick and the heart to quicken, a reminder that the motel is never truly silent. Inside the rooms, mirrors reveal anomalies that defy reason. When they turn to confront the presence, the space is empty, leaving only the lingering sense of being observed. These reflections appear without pattern or warning, often coinciding with the softest movement or the faintest sound. It is as if the motel itself has chosen to reveal its secrets only to those who are most attentive, keeping its otherworldly visitors just beyond reach. The lobby holds its own mysteries. A piano sits in one corner, untouched for decades, its keys faded and silent. Yet on certain nights, the soft strains of music drift from the instrument, filling the air with notes that are both melancholic and beautiful. The melody has no visible source, echoing through the empty space, and drawing the imagination into the past. It is music of another time, of lives once lived and moments long past. Yet it carries with it a presence that is unmistakably real. Even during the day, subtle signs of the motel's hidden life can be detected. A breeze might move through a room without opening doors or windows, carrying with it the faintest scent of perfume or cologne, lingering long after it should have dissipated. Objects can shift slightly, a towel draped over a chair falling to the floor, or a glass moving an inch along the counter. Staff members are familiar with these occurrences, though they speak of them in hushed tones. Cleaning the rooms late at night often brings a heightened sense of awareness, as footsteps echo down empty hallways and the whispers seem to follow their path. Maintenance personnel report tools misplacing themselves or equipment that malfunctions inexplicably when no one is near. Every creak of the floor, every sudden change in temperature, reinforces the feeling that the motel is not simply a building, but a living entity with its own presence and memory. Guests who stay for extended periods sometimes notice patterns. The whispers and reflections appear most strongly in certain rooms and hallways, forming an invisible map of energy that few can understand. The music from the piano is intermittent, appearing without warning and vanishing just as suddenly, leaving only the memory of its haunting melody. Some report dreams that feel vivid and connected to the motel, as if the spirits embedded in its walls reach into the subconscious of those who rest within. The Coral Sands Motel exists as a crossroads of time, memory, and unseen forces. Its pastel walls conceal decades of visitors, each leaving behind traces of themselves that mingle with the energy of the building. The intracoastal waterway reflects light and motion outside, but within, shadows move with subtle intent, and the air is thick with whispers of lives once intertwined with the space. Those who pay close attention cannot ignore the sensation that the motel has witnessed countless stories and continues to observe with patience and care. Even simple routines, such as walking to the vending machines or checking the mailboxes, are affected. Shadows stretch in unusual ways, reflections in windows distort and shift, and the faintest sound can be amplified in the stillness of the night. Guests describe a feeling of presence, of being watched yet not threatened, as though unseen residents are quietly curious about those who have entered their domain. The energy is palpable, a mix of melancholy, curiosity, and something that cannot be named. For many visitors, the experience is disorienting yet strangely captivating. There is a sense that the motel exists both in the present and in the echoes of the past. That every creak of the floorboards and every flicker of light carries a story waiting to be noticed. The whispers, the reflections, the musica all serve as reminders that the Coral Sands Motel is more than a place to sleep. It is a repository of memory, a vessel of experiences that linger long after the guests have departed. By the time morning arrives, the air seems lighter, the echoes retreat, and the motel appears as cheerful as when the day began. Yet for those who stayed through the night, the memory of what they experienced lingers. The whispers may still echo in their mind, the music may replay softly, and the feeling of being observed may follow them as they leave. The Coral Sands Motel keeps its secrets well, allowing only glimpses of the unseen, and ensuring that its presence remains a quiet, haunting companion to those who walk its halls. In this way, the Coral Sands Motel becomes more than a roadside stop. It is a living testament to the passage of time, to lives briefly intersecting with its walls, and to the subtle ways in which the past can touch the present, and to the awareness that the world is larger, more mysterious, and far more alive than it seems. The whispers, the reflections, and the music serve as reminders that the motel has a life of its own, a quiet and enigmatic existence that continues along the intracoastal waterway, quietly observing all who pass through. The Gulf Breeze Lodge in Destin is celebrated for its stunning sunsets, where the sky ignites in hues of orange, pink, and violet over the sparkling waters. By day, it is a tranquil retreat, a place for relaxation and quiet reflection. Yet as night falls, the lodge takes on a different character. The calm beauty of its boardwalk and dunes conceals an unusual energy, one that visitors often notice in subtle, unexplained ways. Footsteps echo across the wooden planks of the boardwalk, yet when anyone looks outside, no one is there. The sound is steady and deliberate, as if someone is walking with purpose, tracing the same path over and over in the darkness. Some guests have reported sightings of a young woman dressed in blue, wandering along the dunes under the moonlight. She appears suddenly, her presence delicate and fleeting, moving gracefully across the sand, before vanishing into the mist. The sighting is never threatening, yet it leaves a lingering impression. The figure seems to exist between two worlds, partially rooted in the physical space of the lodge while partially emerging from an unseen dimension. Those who witness her often feel a mix of wonder and unease, caught between the beauty of the moment and the strangeness of her sudden disappearance. Caught between the beauty of the moment and the strangeness of her sudden disappearance. Inside the lodge, the atmosphere can shift as quietly as the wind across the water. Guests and staff have reported sudden chills, a sensation of someone brushing past, though no one is present. The air carries a faint hum, a presence that is felt rather than seen. Rooms once filled with laughter and conversation during the day become quiet observatories of memory, where the past seems to whisper just beyond the edge of perception. The boardwalk itself is a focal point of these occurrences. Each wooden plank has weathered years of foot traffic, its surface absorbing the energy of countless visitors. At night, those footsteps that seem to echo from nowhere tap against the planks with a rhythm that mimics human movement. Guests often pause, glancing around, expecting to see someone, only to find the beach empty, the waves rolling quietly in the distance. The sound fades as mysteriously as it begins, leaving behind a lingering sense of curiosity and tension. Sightings of the young woman in blue are usually brief but memorable. She is often described as moving toward the dunes with purpose, her dress fluttering in the breeze. As she approaches the mist that drifts across the sand, she disappears without a trace. Some believe she is a spirit of the area, a memory of a visitor long gone, forever tied to the beach and the lodge. Others speculate that she is a projection of lingering energy, a manifestation of emotions and events that left a mark on this place. Regardless of the explanation, the sightings leave a lasting impression on those who witness them. Inside the hallways of the lodge, the feeling of being brushed by an unseen presence is one of the most commonly reported phenomena. Guests describe the sensation as a sudden chill, a subtle pressure that moves along with them as they walk. It is not aggressive, only perceptible, enough to draw attention and evoke a quiet awareness. Staff members often recount the same experiences during late-night shifts, noticing that the temperature seems to drop in certain areas, and that the hallways feel heavier, as if carrying invisible footsteps from the past. The loggia's rooms and common areas also seem to retain traces of these occurrences. Light breezes drift through closed windows, and doors sometimes shift slightly on their hinges without explanation. Sounds, faint and ephemeral, can be heard in the quiet moments between the lapping waves outside and the distant cries of nocturnal wildlife. Some guests have even reported hearing whispers, soft and indistinct, as if words are being spoken from just out of reach. These subtle phenomena create a sense of life beyond what is visible. A reminder that the lodge is more than a building, but a vessel for stories and presences that persist through time. Despite the unusual experiences, the Gulf Breeze Lodge remains a place of serene beauty and welcome. The supernatural elements are gentle, more curious than frightening, blending with the natural atmosphere of the dunes and ocean. Guests who encounter these phenomena often describe them as memorable, haunting in a poetic way rather than terrifying. The footsteps, the figure in blue, the sudden chilsa all contribute to the loggia's reputation as a place where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist. As night deepens, the lodge rests under the glow of moonlight and distant stars. The dunes rise and fall in gentle waves of sand, and the boardwalk stretches outward like a path between the past and the present. Somewhere along this path, the footsteps continue, the young woman in blue moves through the mist, and the hallways carry the brush of an unseen presence. The Gulf Breeze Lodge in Destin is more than a scenic retreat. It is a space where history, memory, and energy converge. Its boardwalk, dunes, and hallways are imbued with quiet life, a reminder that some stories do not fade with the sunset. Visitors leave with the warmth of its beauty, yet many also carry a sense of mystery, a feeling that they have glimpsed something beyond the ordinary. A sense that they have glimpsed something beyond the ordinary. The lodge waits patiently for each new guest, offering not only its sunsets and serene views, but also the subtle presence of the unseen, forever moving along the paths, dunes, and hallways of this coastal haven. The Seaside Retreat Motel in Key West sits quietly along the edge of the water, its weathered balconies overlooking the endless horizon of the ocean. During the day, the sunlight glints off the waves, casting a warm glow over the pastel walls and rustling palm trees. But as night falls, a different presence awakens, one that cannot be explained by the gentle wind or the sound of the surf. Late-night cleaners often hear knocks on doors that are firmly locked. The sound is deliberate, slow, and impossible to locate. It moves from room to room, echoing down the empty hallways. Those who hear it pause, uncertain if it is a guest or something else entirely. The rhythm of the knocks has a strange, almost intentional cadence, as if a message is being communicated through a pattern only the unseen can understand. Guests have reported feeling a cold hand rest on their shoulder while lying in bed or preparing for sleep. The sensation is sudden, sharp, yet strangely fleeting, leaving an impression of presence without threat. Some have sat up quickly, expecting to see a person, only to find the room empty. The air often carries a mix of ocean brine and faint perfume, lingering in a way that feels deliberate, as if marking a space long after anyone has departed. The most commonly seen apparition is a man in a captain's hat, standing silently on the balcony. His posture is rigid, his expression unreadable. Those who encounter him describe a sense of weight in the air, a pause in the rhythm of the night, as if time itself acknowledges his watch. A pause in the rhythm of the night, as if time itself acknowledges his watch. He seems tethered to the sea, drawn to the endless stretch of water where sky and ocean meet. Drawn to the endless stretch of water where sky and ocean meet. Where sky and ocean meet. The motel has a long history, its foundations built during a time when the waters were bustling with ships and sailors. Some believe the captain was once a seafarer who spent his life navigating the Gulf Stream, a man bound to his vessel and to the ocean that sustained him. Perhaps his spirit lingers here, drawn to the shore, observing the same waves that carried him across his life. Housekeepers and maintenance staff describe subtle signs of activity that cannot be explained. A door left ajar when it was closed, the faint creak of floorboards in unoccupied hallways, or the sensation of a presence moving past them in the dim glow of a flashlight. Objects are rarely moved in a way that disrupts the rooms, but the impression of intentionality is always present. The air grows cooler in certain areas, carrying with it the scent of salt and a hint of something floral, a ghostly signature of the man in the hat. Guests who have stayed alone on the upper floors sometimes awaken to see a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the balcony. The captain's gaze seems fixed on the horizon, unwavering, as though he is waiting for something or someone to arrive. When approached, he vanishes without a sound, leaving only the soft hiss of the ocean wind and the lingering perfume in his wake. The architecture of the seaside retreat enhances the feeling of presence. Open hallways, wooden railings, and weathered balconies allow shadows to move freely, reflecting light in ways that suggest movement where none exists. Even in the quietest rooms, the atmosphere feels charged, as if the building itself participates in preserving the memory of those who have walked its floors. Late-night encounters are always subtle, never violent. A cold touch, a fleeting figure, the sound of gentle knocking, or the delicate scent of perfume is enough to stir curiosity and wonder. Visitors leave with stories of brief, inexplicable moments that linger in memory, a reminder that some places carry echoes of lives once lived, remaining tethered to the world through sensation and observation. The sea beyond the motel plays a role in these experiences. Waves crash against the shore, their sound amplified in the silence of night. The wind carries both warmth and chill, whispering through palm fronds and open windows. These natural elements mix with the supernatural, creating an environment where the line between the living and the unseen becomes delicate and permeable. Staff have learned to respect the presence. Cleaning routines adjust to the rhythms of the night. Rooms are approached with care, acknowledging that some spaces are watched. The captain's figure is not considered threatening, but rather a sentinel of the seaside, a spirit bound to the horizon and the gentle sway of the tides. Visitors often describe an unsettling sense of intimacy during these encounters. The presence seems aware of their actions, acknowledging their curiosity and hesitation. A glance at the balcony, a pause in the hall, or a step taken too slowly may be met with a subtle response. A movement or sensation that is brief but undeniable. It is a reminder that this space is shared with someone beyond the ordinary. A figure who exists between the world of the living and the memory of the sea. The Seaside Retreat Motel continues to welcome travelers, offering comfort and proximity to the sunlit shore. Yet in the quiet hours after midnight, it transforms into a place where history, memory, and the supernatural converge. Knocks echo on locked doors, invisible hands brush shoulders, and the scent of ocean brine mingles with faint perfume. The captain remains on the balcony, ever vigilant, staring into the horizon. For those who witness him, the experience is brief, yet unforgettable, leaving a sense of wonder and the knowledge that some spirits never leave the places they loved most. And so, the Seaside Retreat Motel endures, alive with the hum of the sea. The hum of the sea. And the subtle echoes of a captain who continues to watch over his domain. The ocean stretches endlessly before him. The night carries the whispers of the past. And anyone who lingers a moment too long may feel the gentle, unmistakable touch of a presence that belongs to both land and sea. The Lighthouse View Inn in St. Augustine stands quietly near the historic lighthouse, its charm intertwined with an air of mystery. By day, guests are drawn to the coastal views, the gentle hum of the ocean, and the history embedded in every brick and beam. Yet when the sun dips below the horizon and the lighthouse beam sweeps across the sky, the inn takes on a different character, one shaped by shadows, whispers, and the unseen movements of the night. At the stroke of midnight, lights flicker throughout the hallways. The glow pulses and dims, casting long, wavering shadows across the walls. Guests and staff alike have reported seeing figures walking up and down these halls, their forms solid at first glance, only to vanish when approached. The inn appears empty, yet the sense of presence is unmistakable. Footsteps echo faintly, disappearing into silence as quickly as they arrive. The proximity to the lighthouse adds a unique dimension to the inn's atmosphere. The foghorn, a low, resonant sound that cuts through the coastal night, carries whispers along the wind. Some claim these whispers guide lost spirits back into the inn, as though the building itself offers sanctuary. The effect is subtle but profound, creating an eerie connection between the sea, the lighthouse, and the inn. Guests often speak of the sensation of being watched when walking through the halls alone. Shadows appear in the corners of vision, moving with deliberate purpose, yet dissolve when faced directly. Doors may creak open without reason, and the soft scuff of footsteps follows closely behind, only to vanish when one turns to investigate. The inn seems alive in ways that extend beyond its physical walls, responding to presence with quiet, deliberate energy. The interior of the inn is marked by old wooden floors and narrow corridors, each step echoing through the building. Light from the lighthouse beam sweeps across the walls, mingling with the soft glow of ceiling lamps, creating moving patterns that feel almost sentient. Hallways that seem straight and ordinary during the day take on an unsettling quality at night, as shadows stretch and ripple like water caught in a breeze. Many report waking in the middle of the night to find doors open that they had securely closed, or windows ajar despite locks being engaged. The air carries a subtle chill, a mingling of sea air and something unidentifiable, brushing across skin like a faint touch. It is not harmful, but it leaves a deep impression, a reminder that the building holds memory and motion beyond the living occupants. In the quietest hours, the foghorn becomes the dominant sound. Its low resonance travels through the inn, vibrating along floors and walls. A signal that reaches into empty rooms. Some interpret these as the voices of lost travelers, returned from the sea or the lighthouse, guided gently by the inn to rest or perhaps to continue wandering within its walls. Staff who work late into the evening describe an almost hypnotic rhythm to the building. The flickering lights, the shadows, and the distant foghorn combine to create a sensory tapestry that is both captivating and unsettling. Cleaning crews report footsteps pacing in rooms they have just finished, or objects slightly moved, as if the space is adjusting itself in response to unseen presence. It is subtle, yet impossible to ignore once noticed. The inn's rooms are quiet havens during the day, yet at night they transform. Guests have reported the sensation of someone standing near the doorway or at the foot of the bed, only to turn and find the space empty. Shadows may linger across the floors or walls, moving with a slow, deliberate grace. The effect is fleeting, yet it leaves a lasting impression on those who experience it. The Lighthouse View Inn maintains a delicate balance between history and mystery. The beam of the lighthouse illuminates both the exterior and interior in sweeping arcs, highlighting textures and shadows in ways that seem almost intentional. The building's energy feels entwined with the lighthouse, as if the structure itself communicates with the rhythm of the ocean and the night. For those who have spent a night within its walls, the experience is unforgettable. Footsteps echoing, doors shifting slightly, shadows moving. Shadows moving, and whispers carried by the foghorn all create a tapestry of sensation that engages every sense. The inn becomes a place where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist. Where history leaves its mark not just in stories and photographs, but in presence and motion. As the night deepens, the inn exhales with the tide. Shadows ripple across the hallways, the flickering lights pulse. The flickering lights pulse, and the foghorn sounds at intervals. Guests may glimpse figures along corridors or feel the subtle pressure. Of unseen hands guiding them gently. It is an experience that lingers, a hauntingly beautiful interplay of light, sound, and presence. The Lighthouse View Inn is more than a place to rest. It is a living repository of history, memory, and mystery. The building breathes with the rhythm of the sea, watching and waiting, offering glimpses of lives that have passed through its halls and along the nearby lighthouse grounds. At midnight, when the lights flicker and shadows move like living entities, the inn reminds its guests that some places hold stories that extend far beyond the waking world, inviting them to experience a night where the boundary between the seen and unseen is blurred. In every corner, along every hallway, and within every room, the inn retains its quiet secrets. Shadows linger, whispers travel with the wind, and the foghorn calls softly across the water. For those present, it is a reminder that the Lighthouse View Inn is alive in ways that defy logic. A place where history, the ocean, and unseen presences converge, creating an atmosphere both captivating and unforgettable. An eternal vigil by the shore. During the day, the waves crash rhythmically against the shore, gulls call overhead, and the sun sparkles across the water, creating a picture of serenity. Some visitors awaken in the early hours to find their room in disarray. Keys go missing, drawers are slightly open, and personal items are moved without explanation. Beds are left unmade, even though they were perfectly tidy before sleep. Small details that would normally go unnoticed take on an eerie significance when they cannot be explained. Guests report the sensation of being observed, though no one is there, and the familiar spaces of their rooms seem momentarily unfamiliar. As if the motel itself has shifted in the darkness. Outside, along the sand just beyond the balcony, footprints sometimes appear from nowhere. Travelers often feel compelled to follow them, only to find the tracks end in sudden emptiness, leaving behind the sound of waves and the whisper of wind. The most unsettling experiences occur on the motel balconies that face the ocean. Guests have glimpsed a dark figure leaning against the railing, its posture relaxed yet deliberate, silently watching the rolling waves. Those who witness it often hold their breath, uncertain whether to call out or retreat. And just as suddenly as it appears, the figure dissolves into the wind, leaving only the gentle movement of the palm fronds and the faint scent of salt water behind. The motel itself seems to hold these energies with a quiet persistence. Hallways are often silent, yet footsteps echo when no one is walking. Doors may creak open or close without any visible cause. And a sudden chill can pass through a room, brushing across the skin like a whisper. These phenomena are subtle, never overtly threatening. But they are enough to create a sense that the building is more than a collection of rooms and hallways. It is alive with memories, energies, and the traces of those who have lingered along the shore. Guests describe the experience as a mixture of fascination and unease. The small, simple details of the movement of objects, the inexplicable footprints, the fleeting figure on the balconia, combine to create an atmosphere charged with mystery. Even those who enter with skepticism find themselves pausing, listening, and looking, drawn into the motel's quiet, enigmatic rhythm. The ocean, always present, seems to amplify the feeling, its constant motion echoing the unseen currents within the building. Staff members are accustomed to the oddities, though they speak of them quietly. Housekeeping notes items in rooms appearing out of place. Maintenance notices doors that have been opened or closed without explanation. And management is aware that guests sometimes leave early, unnerved by experiences they cannot fully explain. Despite this, the motel continues to welcome visitors. Balancing hospitality with the subtle, unspoken acknowledgement that Driftwood Shores has a life beyond human perception. The energy of the motel is most tangible at night when the Oceana's roar blends with the sounds of the building settling. Guests on upper balconies may feel a presence nearby, the hair on the back of their neck standing as though the air itself has thickened. Shadows shift in corners, and the wind carries whispers that might be mistaken for the sound of distant conversation. The figure by the railing, dark and silent, embodies these energies, a visual reminder that the motel holds more than meets the eye. Even simple routines, like entering a room or returning from a walk on the beach, become charged with an awareness of the unseen. Keys may not be where they were left, and objects may appear to move in subtle patterns. It is a gentle, persistent reminder that the motel and its surroundings are shared spaces, inhabited by energies both tangible and ephemeral. Over time, the experiences at Driftwood Shores Motel leave a lasting impression. Guests speak of the ocean's calming presence intertwined with moments of inexplicable phenomena. The dark figure, the missing keys, and the footprints are never threatening, but they create a narrative of the motel as a living, breathing entity, attentive and aware. Visitors leave with a heightened sensitivity, a sense of wonder, and an understanding that the ordinary can often conceal the extraordinary. By morning, the motel resumes its outward tranquility. Yet for those who stayed through the night, the memory of what they experienced lingers. The footprints, the moved objects, and the silent figure on the balcony remain vivid. A reminder that Driftwood Shores Motel exists on the edge of the ordinary and the mysterious. A place where the ocean meets the unseen. And where every visitor carries a story of quiet, haunting presence along the sands of Daytona Beach. The Azure Tide Motel in Pensacola is known for its proximity to the beach and the calming sound of waves during the day. Sunlight spills across its hallways, highlighting the pastel walls and simple decor, giving the impression of a quiet, unassuming retreat. Yet, as night falls, the atmosphere shifts. Hallways that were empty and silent during the day begin to echo with distant laughter, soft at first, then growing in volume as if unseen guests have arrived. The sound carries a playful tone, yet there is an underlying edge that unsettles those who hear it. Guests who check in for the night sometimes discover that rooms left neat and orderly in the morning are found in disarray by evening. Beds are unmade, chairs are overturned, and small items are scattered as though handled by invisible hands. Housekeeping staff report similar experiences, entering rooms that were clean just hours before to find them disturbed in ways that cannot be explained. The changes are subtle at first but become more pronounced with each passing night, leaving a sense that the motel itself is alive, reacting to the presence of something unseen. Among the most unnerving phenomena are the reports of a child's voice singing nursery rhymes. The melody is soft, lilting, and unmistakably that of a young child, yet the words are in a language unknown to anyone who hears them. Guests describe the song as both haunting and mesmerizing, drifting through hallways and curling around corners. The voice seems to come from rooms that are empty, leaving only the sound to fill the space. Some travelers follow the sound, only to find silence and an empty room, as if the song itself exists independently of the physical world. Doors throughout the motel slam violently for no apparent reason, startling guests and leaving a lingering sense of unease. Travelers recount waking to the sound of doors crashing against their frames, only to find hallways empty and winds calm. These occurrences are not isolated, but repeat in multiple rooms, suggesting an unseen presence moving with intention, marking its influence upon the motel. The Azure Tide Motel is filled with an atmosphere that is difficult to define. The architecture is simple, yet the space feels charged with energy. Hallways twist and echo in ways that amplify even the smallest sound. Carpets and walls seem to retain the memory of footsteps and laughter long after they occur. The scent of the ocean mingles with the faint trace of something older, something that hints at a history layered beneath the ordinary comfort of the building. Visitors describe a feeling of being watched, a subtle awareness that grows as the night deepens. It is not threatening, yet it is persistent, a sensation that draws attention to small details. Shadows that linger a little too long, lights that flicker briefly, or the soft creak of floorboards when no one is walking. These details create an environment in which every sound and movement carries weight, producing a heightened sense of perception that can leave guests alert and tense. In some of the more affected rooms, objects seem to move on their own. Small personal items shift slightly from their places. And furniture occasionally appears in positions different from how it was left. Travelers often report waking to find chairs nudged, clothing misplaced, and bedding unsettled. The changes are never destructive beyond recognition, but they convey the unmistakable impression of an invisible presence making its way through the space. The child's song remains one of the most compelling and eerie aspects of the experience. Its melody drifts in loops, sometimes repeating the same phrases over and over, while at other times it seems to change, evolving in subtle ways that defy explanation. Guests often describe following the sound through hallways and corners, feeling the presence brush past them, only to find the source invisible. Only to find the source invisible. The voice becomes a guide and a riddle at the same time, leading the listener deeper into the motel's mysterious nocturnal rhythm. The sudden door slams serve as punctuations in this strange narrative. They startle, they warn, and they remind those present that the motel is not entirely empty. Even when travelers are alone, the environment asserts its presence. The energy of the space interacts with anyone who occupies it, producing a mixture of fascination and unease. That lingers long after the night ends. Guests awake in the morning carrying the memory of sounds and sensations that cannot be explained. The hallways echoing with the laughter and whispers of the unseen. Despite the unsettling experiences, the Azure Tide Motel remains a place of quiet beauty by day. Sunlight reflects off the ocean waves, the boardwalk glistens, and the charm of the coastal setting remains undeniable. It is at night that the motel transforms, revealing the layers of presence and energy that exist just beyond the ordinary perception of its guests. The hallways, rooms, and boardwalk become stages for unseen performers, creating a nocturnal theater where every sound and movement carries meaning. The Azure Tide Motel is more than just a place to stay. It is a living environment where history, memory, and presence converge. Guests leave with memories of the lodge that are vivid, haunting, and unforgettable. Guests leave with memories of the lodge that are vivid, haunting, and unforgettable. Guests leave with memories of the lodge that are vivid, haunting, and unforgettable. As night falls over Pensacola, the motel stands quietly against the darkened sky. Hallways continue to echo, rooms carry the residue of unseen activity. And the distant song of the child drifts softly through the corridors. The Azure Tide Motel waits patiently, offering its sunsets and seaside beauty by day, and a nocturnal world of mystery and subtle presence by night. It is a place where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist, leaving every traveler with a story to tell and a memory that lingers long after they have departed. The Moonlight Bay Inn sits along the shores of Naples, its balconies overlooking the restless waves that glint silver under the moonlight. But as night falls, the atmosphere shifts. The presence seems to stir, moving unseen among the rooms and corridors. Visitors have described the unnerving sensation of being followed down the beachside hallways. The feeling is persistent, subtle, and impossible to ignore. It is as if someone or something is walking just beyond perception, maintaining a careful distance, watching, waiting, and guiding with a purpose unknown. Sometimes, a whisper brushes against the ear, soft as the ocean breeze. It speaks of the room occupied, of the space now temporarily theirs, and carries a warning that chills the spine. The voice is not hostile, yet the message is unmistakable, leaving the listener with an uneasy sense of being marked by the inn itself. There is a careful, deliberate rhythm to these encounters. As if the unseen presence moves in tandem with the guest. Neither harming nor abandoning, merely observing. Merely observing. The ocean seems to hold a life of its own here. Waves crash gently on the shore, yet they carry echoes of laughter and faint cries, the sound as if blended with memory rather than reality. Visitors pause to listen, unsure if it is the wind, the water, or something beyond. The cries are fleeting, fading with the rhythm of the surf, leaving only the sense that the sea remembers those who came and vanished long before the present day. Staff members who work through the night often speak of rooms that feel alive. Even when unoccupied. Doors may shift slightly in their frames. The faint scent of perfume or cologne lingers without explanation. And the air seems heavier near certain corners of the hallways. These subtle signs are enough to make even the most skeptical pause. To wonder what lies beyond what can be seen or touched. The inn's architecture enhances these experiences. The polished wood floors reflecting shadows that move independently of any person. Open windows allow the ocean breeze to carry sounds from the shore. Blending natural and supernatural into one seamless atmosphere. Every step taken within the building seems amplified. Resonating in the space like a ripple in the water. Hinting at unseen figures moving just out of sight. Some guests report a moment when the unseen presence makes itself felt more clearly. A hand brushes the shoulder, cool and fleeting, never firm enough to startle. But always enough to leave awareness heightened. In the same instant, the whispers may return, softly naming the room. A reminder that the inn remembers every occupant and records their passage through its corridors. The feeling lingers long after the moment ends, a quiet imprint on memory. The whispers, the laughter, the faint cries, and the sensation of being watched are never constant. They ebb and flow like the tide outside, appearing in rhythm with the night and retreating as quickly as they arrive. Those who encounter these phenomena describe a mix of fascination and unease, a delicate balance between fear and awe, drawn to the mystery but respecting its boundaries. The Moonlight Bay Inn has stood for decades, witnessing countless visitors and hosting stories that remain untold. Some believe the unseen figures are remnants of travelers who vanished without a trace, souls still bound to the inn and the sea they loved or feared. Others suggest it is a manifestation of memory itself, an echo of past experiences imprinted upon the walls, floors, and hallways, replaying silently for those attuned to perception. The sound of the ocean, always present, acts as both companion and messenger. Waves carry laughter and sorrow alike, blending seamlessly with the whispers and footsteps that visitors report. Even in the absence of direct sight, the atmosphere conveys presence, a delicate tension that permeates every hallway, balcony, and room. Guests who take late-night walks along the balconies often describe the sensation of eyes upon them. A rhythm in their movements, as if the inn itself observes the pace of their steps. At the same time, there is no threat, only a pervasive awareness, a reminder that the place holds more than walls and furniture. Some nights, the wind carries the voices of the vanished more clearly, interwoven with the gentle roar of waves. It is a chorus of the past, a fleeting connection to lives that brushed against the present without fully stepping into it. Those who listen carefully can sense the inn's story unfolding through these subtle phenomena, a narrative woven from absence, memory, and the lingering pulse of the ocean. The Moonlight Bay Inn continues to welcome guests, offering comfort and tranquility during daylight hours. Yet, after nightfall, it transforms into a space where natural and supernatural intersect. Visitors feel the presence of unseen figures, hear whispers that carry warnings, and sense the watchful rhythm of a place alive with memory. The ocean breeze carries echoes of joy and sorrow, reminding all who pass through that the inn is more than just a building. In the quiet hours, the hallways stretch endlessly, the moonlight dances across the floors, and the unseen figures move just out of reach. Whispers brush the ears of those who linger, footsteps fall softly behind. And the waves continue their chorus of laughter and faint cries. The moonlight bay-in exists not only as a haven for travelers but as a witness to the invisible, a keeper of stories that the ocean itself cannot forget. Those who spend time within its walls leave with a sense of awe and wonder. The memory of whispers, of unseen companions, and of the sea's echo lingers, reminding them that some places carry the past in ways that are tangible yet impossible to hold. Where every step, every breeze, and every shadow tells a story beyond the ordinary. The Coral Reef Lodge in Sarasota sits gracefully along the shoreline, its architecture reflecting the gentle curves of the nearby waves. By day, guests enjoy sunlit balconies, the sound of surf against sand, and the warm sea breeze that drifts through open windows. Yet as night falls, the lodge transforms, revealing a presence that is subtle, elusive, and profoundly unsettling. On the top floor, lights flicker violently, casting erratic shadows across the walls. The effect is sudden and intense, a rhythmic pulse that seems almost deliberate. As if the building itself is alive and aware of its occupants. Staff have reported seeing a figure dressed in a black suit standing by the balcony. Silent and still, watching the dark horizon. When guests peek outside, the parking lot and beach below appear empty, leaving only the lingering impression of observation. Rooms on the top floor carry a unique energy. Objects shift ever so slightly when no one is present. A chair angled differently than it was left. A book moved a few inches. Or a glass resting in a new position. Guests often wake to these changes. A quiet reminder that the building's history and its unseen inhabitants are interwoven with the present. The soundscape of the Coral Reef Lodge contributes to its eerie atmosphere. The ocean wind carries a low, mournful moaning that seems to originate from no single source. Some guests describe it as faint, almost melodic, while others find it unsettling, a sound that resonates with the very bones of the building. When combined with the flickering lights and the appearance of the black-suited figure, the effect is deeply immersive, blurring the line between the natural and the unexplained. Blurring the line between the natural and the unexplained. Hallways on the top floor feel different from those below. The air grows cooler, heavy with moisture and an indefinable tension. Shadows move at the edges of vision, stretching along walls and corners as if testing the presence of those who pass. Footsteps are heard without a source, soft yet deliberate, echoing just long enough to create the impression of someone walking beside or behind. Yet when investigated, the corridors are empty, leaving only the quiet hum of the night. Being watched even while alone in their rooms. Visible only briefly. The sight is both fascinating and unnerving. The impression that lingers long after the moment has passed. The loggia's proximity to the ocean amplifies these phenomena. Waves crash rhythmically against the shore. Their sound mingling with the moaning carried by the wind. The faint glow of moonlight reflects across surfaces, illuminating the subtle shifts in furniture. The patterns of shadows, and the contours of walls that seem almost to breathe. It is a space where the natural and the supernatural coexist. Each enhancing the other in a delicate, persistent tension. Staff members report a heightened awareness while working late at night. Elevators pause longer than usual on the top floor. Lights in vacant hallways flicker. Rooms that have been closed for hours occasionally reveal signs of movement. Cleaning crews notice towels folded differently. Objects slightly displaced. The lingering feeling of eyes watching. The black-suited figure itself carries a quiet but compelling energy. Observers rarely hear any sound from the apparition, yet its presence is undeniable. Standing perfectly still, it seems to observe without judgment, drawing attention without threat. Guests often describe the sensation of being invited to watch, to bear witness to something beyond comprehension, a bridge between the living and a lingering memory embedded in the building. At night, the top floor becomes a stage for these subtle occurrences. Lights flare and fade unpredictably. Objects shift just enough to be noticed. And shadows move with a fluid grace across floors and walls. The moaning wind, combined with the rhythmic pulse of the building's flickering lights, creates a sensory environment that is immersive, atmospheric, and unforgettable. The lodge seems to move in tandem with its guests, responding to presence while maintaining an air of mystery that defies explanation. For those who have stayed on the top floor, the experience is profound. Even after leaving, the memory of flickering lights, shifting objects, and the black-suited figure remains vivid. The combination of sound, movement, and presence creates a lingering sense of connection to the lodge, as if its unseen inhabitants have imprinted upon those who enter, sharing their silent vigil through subtle gestures and atmospheric cues. Sharing their silent vigil through subtle gestures and atmospheric cues. As if its unseen inhabitants have imprinted upon those who enter. The memory of flickering lights, shifting objects, and the black-suited figure remains vivid. The Coral Reef Lodge continues to operate as it always has, welcoming visitors by day while harboring its mysteries by night. The top floor remains a space where the ordinary and the extraordinary intersect, where shadows ripple across walls, objects respond to absence, and the wind carries moaning whispers that defy clear explanation. In every room, along every hallway, and at every balcony, the lodge preserves its quiet secrets. Guests may glimpse the black-suited figure, hear the moaning carried by the ocean breeze, or notice the subtle shifting of objects. The Coral Reef Lodge is more than a place to stay. It is a living space, breathing with history and presence, watching with patience, and reminding all who enter that some places hold mysteries that are felt as much as they are seen, echoing long after the night has passed. The Pelican Point Motel on Marco Island appears serene during the day, bathed in sunlight and the gentle sounds of the Gulf of Mexico. Guests stroll along the boardwalks, the pastel-colored walls gleaming under the Florida sun, and the air carries the faint scent of saltwater mixed with the warmth of sand and sea air. By day, it is the picture of calm, a peaceful retreat for travelers seeking quiet and comfort. But as night falls, the atmosphere shifts. Shadows lengthen across the hallways. And the familiar, comforting sounds of the ocean are joined by whispers and soft creaks that seem to originate from within the building itself. Guests often sense an unseen presence, a subtle energy that watches and waits, transforming the motel from a place of leisure into a space that is tense with anticipation. Some visitors have reported waking to find rooms disturbed in ways they cannot explain. Beds are unmade despite being left tidy the night before. And personal belongings are displaced, as if moved by invisible hands. The sudden absence creates a lingering unease. A reminder that the motel holds secrets beyond human understanding. Among the stories shared by visitors, one figure emerges repeatedly. An old fisherman, dressed in weathered clothing, is said to roam the halls. He is rarely seen fully, often glimpsed from the corner of an eye or as a shadowy silhouette at the end of a corridor. Yet the sense of his presence is undeniable, a quiet authority that pervades the motel, suggesting that he has claimed it as his own. The rooms themselves sometimes reveal their hidden histories in more subtle ways. Guests report the distant strains of piano music, drifting softly from rooms that appear empty. The notes are melancholy, familiar yet distant, as though played by someone long gone. Occasionally, a faint voice accompanies the melody, singing a song that seems to echo from the past. These sounds carry a haunting beauty, evoking memories of forgotten lives and stories that linger in the air like a half-remembered dream. Hallways can feel alive with unseen movement. Shadows bend and stretch along the walls. And doors may open or close without explanation. Even in moments of silence, the building seems to breathe, its energy moving through corridors and rooms in waves that are felt more than seen. The atmosphere is charged, heavy with anticipation, yet the presence is not aggressive. It watches, listens, and waits, quietly asserting the motel's claim over its inhabitants. Guests who encounter the fisherman describe an odd mix of curiosity and unease. He does not speak or threaten, yet the act of being observed is profoundly affecting. The slow rhythm of his steps, the deliberate way he pauses at doorways, and the sense of being counted all contribute to an awareness that nothing in the motel is entirely accidental. It is as if the building itself, through this figure, maintains a connection to every guest who passes through, marking the living while preserving the memories of those who are no longer present. The sound of piano music and singing adds another layer to the motel's presence. Even in empty rooms, the melody resonates with clarity, filling the space with emotion and nostalgia. Guests sometimes follow the sound, only to find rooms completely vacant, yet the music continues, weaving through the hallways and drifting into the night. It is a reminder that Pelican Point Motel exists not only in the present but is threaded with echoes of the past, moments of life and performance that linger long after they occurred. Outside, the view of the ocean adds to the atmosphere. Waves lap against the shore, and the moonlight shimmers across the water, providing both comfort and contrast to the unseen events within. Footsteps on the sand occasionally appear without source, stretching along the beach or pausing near the balcony rails, only to vanish as if the tide has claimed them. These occurrences reinforce the sense that the motel is part of a larger, unseen world, where the boundary between the living and the departed is delicate and fluid. Even routine activities take on a different feeling at night. Walking through the halls, checking into rooms, or entering the lobby can provoke a heightened awareness, a sense that something unseen is observing. Lights may flicker, objects may shift, and distant sounds carry with unusual clarity. Guests describe an increased attentiveness, a focus on the smallest details, as if the motel itself communicates through subtle cues that only those who are present can perceive. Over time, stories of the Pelican Point Motel have become part of its character. Guests share their experiences quietly, recounting vanished objects, phantom footsteps, and the presence of the fisherman. Each report adds to the building's narrative, layering it with memory, energy, and the inexplicable. The piano and singing continue to serve as audible markers of its hidden life, a gentle but persistent reminder that the motel is not solely a place for rest but a space intertwined with history, observation, and the supernatural. By morning, the motel resumes its calm appearance. Sunlight fills the rooms, waves crash along the shore. And the pastel-colored walls once again evoke comfort and relaxation. Yet for those who have stayed through the night, the memory of what they experienced remains vivid. Footsteps on the sand. Objects moved without cause. And the soft strains of piano music linger in thought. The presence of the old fisherman, checking the rooms and silently counting, is never far from the imagination. Pelican Point Motel endures as a place of mystery, where the beauty of Marco Island meets the quiet, persistent presence of the unseen, leaving an indelible impression on all who pass through its doors. The Starfish Sands Inn in Vero Beach is a coastal retreat known for its serene ocean views and the gentle rhythm of waves along the shore. By day, the inn is a haven for travelers seeking relaxation and the beauty of the beach. Sunlight streams through the windows, illuminating the soft sands and turquoise waters outside. Yet, as night descends, the inn takes on an entirely different character. Guests often describe the sensation of movement in the periphery of their vision. Lights flicker or turn on by themselves, illuminating hallways or corners that were previously dark. The soft hum of electricity is joined by subtle creaks and groans of the building settling, creating an atmosphere that is both quiet and tense. It is during these moments that visitors become aware of the inn's unusual nocturnal energy, a presence that seems to watch, measure, and respond to those who occupy the space. In the rooms, small disturbances become apparent. Chairs are shifted slightly from where they were placed, drawers left open, and sometimes the ocean view balcony door stands wide, even if it was securely closed earlier. The changes are subtle enough to be noticed only upon observation, yet they carry a weight of mystery that is impossible to ignore. The most unnerving reports involve the exterior view. Travelers looking out over the balcony or window sometimes notice glowing eyes staring back from the darkness. These eyes remain perfectly still, watching until the first light of dawn washes over the horizon. The presence is silent, never approaching, never revealing itself beyond the faint, otherworldly glow. Those who experience it describe a sense of being observed, a quiet awareness that some Ania or some Thinga is keeping vigil from the shadows. Hallways throughout the inn add to the sense of unease. The floors, polished and smooth, reflect the faint glow of lights that switch on unexpectedly. Shadows seem to move independently of the fixtures, stretching, curling, and retreating in a rhythm that suggests intent. Guests report hearing soft footsteps or distant sounds, subtle yet unmistakable, as if someone is pacing just beyond the edge of perception. The air carries a charged energy, a tension that heightens with the late hours, making every sound and movement significant. In some rooms, the atmosphere feels heavier. The scent of saltwater and sea breeze mixes with the faint, elusive trace of something older. A residue of the Ina's history and the people who have stayed there before. Guests often feel an inexplicable chill along the back of their necks. A sensation of presence without form. It is not aggressive, but persistent, enough to draw attention to the surroundings. And make ordinary objects feel alive in subtle, unsettling ways. The balcony door, in particular, becomes a focal point for these occurrences. Some visitors awaken to find it open despite having closed it the night before. The air carries the faint scent of the ocean, mingling with an uncanny sense of expectancy, as though someone has stepped outside to watch the world quietly from the dunes or the sand below. The glowing eyes outside add to the tension, a silent witness that observes without movement, blending into the darkness while maintaining a constant vigilance. Guests often describe the shadows on the walls as almost tangible. They crawl along the corners, stretch toward the ceilings, and shift in patterns that seem deliberate. When viewed from certain angles, they appear to respond to movement, stretching longer when approached and receding when ignored. The interplay of light and shadow creates an environment where perception is heightened, and ordinary features of the room take on an unfamiliar and eerie quality. Despite these experiences, the Starfish Sands Inn retains its allure. The beauty of the beach and the ocean is undeniable, grounding the inn in reality. Even as the unseen presence asserts itself. Guests leave with stories of small disturbances, glowing eyes, and shadows that seem to move on their own. These experiences are subtle, never overtly threatening, yet unforgettable, creating a blend of fascination and unease that lingers long after departure. The hallways, balconies, and rooms all contribute to the Ina's reputation as a place where ordinary and extraordinary coexist. Every light that flickers, every chair that shifts, and every shadow that creeps along the walls is part of a larger narrative. One that draws visitors into the mystery of the space. Those who remain patient and observant often report a heightened sense of awareness. A connection to the Ina's hidden energy. That is as compelling as it is enigmatic. As night deepens over Vero Beach, the Starfish Sands Inn settles into a quiet rhythm. Waves roll softly against the shore, and the moon casts its silver glow across the sand. Shadows continue to crawl along the walls, lights turn on and off, and the balcony door occasionally stands ajar. Glowing eyes watch silently from the darkness outside, maintaining their vigil until dawn. The inn is alive in ways that are unseen, a subtle presence that waits patiently for those who will notice and remember. The Starfish Sands Inn is more than a seaside retreat. It is a space where natural beauty and mystery intertwine, creating an environment that captivates and unsettles simultaneously. The crawling shadows, self-illuminating lights, shifted furnishings, and silent observers outside all serve as reminders that some presences linger long after the day ends. Guests leave with memories of the ocean and the sun, but also of the subtle, haunting energy that defines the nights at the inn. It is a place where observation becomes awareness, and awareness becomes an experience that lingers like the ebbing tide. The Sunset Dunes Motel rests quietly at the edge of Fort Myers, bordered by rolling sand dunes that stretch toward the ocean. By day, the sunlight warms the sand and the pastel walls of the motel, creating a serene and inviting atmosphere. But when night falls, the dunes seem to come alive with whispers of unseen presence, and the air takes on a chill that cannot be explained by the coastal breeze alone. Travelers who walk along the beach after dark sometimes feel cold hands brush against them or tug gently, guiding them toward the shore. The sensation is sudden, fleeting, and impossible to trace. A shiver runs down the spine, a reminder that the dunes conceal secrets beneath their shifting sands. Some visitors turn to see figures walking along the waterline, shadows moving in perfect step with the waves, only to vanish when the surf touches them. Staff who work late describe the rooms themselves as having moods. Some spaces feel cold and heavy, almost resentful, responding to the presence of anyone who stays too long. Guests have reported doors slamming without cause, windows rattling with the slightest breeze, and a lingering sense of being watched. The atmosphere is not overtly threatening, but it is persistent and unmistakable, a reminder that the motel is more than a collection of walls and furniture. The dunes play a critical role in these encounters. The dunes play a critical role in these encounters. At night, the dunes cast long shapes under the moon, creating illusions that blend the natural with the supernatural. Silhouettes appear and disappear with the tides, their forms eerily human, leaving observers uncertain whether they have witnessed a trick of light or the presence of those who no longer belong to the living world. Visitors often describe a sense of being followed along the beach. Steps echo behind them, yet when they turn, the sand is empty. The whispers of the wind carry fragments of conversation, laughter, and sometimes faint cries. The sounds mingle with the ocean surf, blurring the line between natural phenomena and the unseen. Those who pause to listen feel an invisible gaze upon them, patient and deliberate, as if the dunes themselves are observing each movement. Inside the motel, the feeling is equally potent. Guests notice subtle changes in the temperature, shifts in shadows, and objects that seem to move on their own. Staff have recounted chairs slightly repositioned in empty rooms, towels displaced from their original folds, and the faint scent of salt and earth lingering long after cleaning. The rooms react to the presence of those who inhabit them, creating a dialogue between occupant and environment that is both unnerving and compelling. Some travelers have reported dreams of the dunes, vivid experiences that continue the night's encounters even after they leave the beach. In these dreams, they walk through sand that shifts beneath their feet, guided by hands they cannot see. Figures appear at the water's edge, moving toward them with silent urgency, only to vanish as the tide rises. Upon waking, the sensations linger, the memory of unseen contact and whispered warnings etched deeply in the mind. The motel's proximity to the ocean enhances the phenomenon. The sound of waves crashing against the shore is a constant backdrop, masking and blending with the soft noises of the night. Even the gentle sway of the palm trees seems to carry movement in the shadows, extending the sensation that the dunes themselves are alive, observing, and shaping the experience of anyone who wanders too close. Those who stay longer than a single night sometimes notice a cumulative effect. The longer they remain, the stronger the presence becomes. Cold touches intensify, shadows lengthen, and whispers grow clearer. The ocean seems to speak directly to them, the sound of the surf carrying warnings, memories, or remnants of lives long gone. The dunes, the beach, and the motel together create a space where the past and present overlap, leaving visitors to navigate both the physical and the unseen. Encounters are rarely frightening in a direct sense, but the persistence of the presence creates a tension that is palpable. Guests leave with the memory of hands brushing against them, of shadows slipping across the sand, and of rooms that feel alive in response to their presence. Even after they depart, the sensation remains. A lingering awareness that some places hold more than they reveal. And that the dunes will always guard their secrets. The Sunset Dunes Motel continues to operate, welcoming travelers seeking the beauty of Fort Myers beaches and the calm of the ocean. Yet in the quiet hours, when the wind shifts and the moon rises over the dunes, the motel transforms into a place where the line between reality and the unseen blurs. Cold hands guide the curious, silhouettes appear and vanish along the surf, and the rooms themselves bear witness to those who stay too long. The dunes hold countless secrets, each grain of sand carrying memory and presence. The beach, the surf, and the motel combine to create an environment alive with unseen observers, whispering voices, and subtle movements. Visitors feel the pull of the ocean, the touch of cold hands, and the weight of an invisible gaze. The Sunset Dunes Motel is more than a destination, it is a threshold between the living world and the hidden, a place where mysteries linger, and the dunes keep their secrets close. And so, as the sun sets over Fort Myers and the moon casts its glow upon the sand, the motel endures. Guests may sleep. Staff may walk the hallways. And the ocean may rise and fall. But the dunes remain ever vigilant. Shadows drift. Hands brush. And the rooms breathe in response to those who linger. Sunset Dunes Motel is a place where the past is never truly gone. Where the beach holds memories in its sands. And where the unseen continues its silent watch. Night after night. The Atlantic Mist Motel in Cocoa Beach rests just steps from the shoreline, its weathered exterior a testament to decades of sun, salt, and storm. By day, it is a quiet retreat, filled with the sounds of seagulls, the murmur of waves, and the gentle hum of vacationers. Yet as night falls, the motel takes on a different character, one shaped by shadows, whispers, and the lingering presence of those who never truly left. Ghostly figures drift through the hallways after dark. Their movements are subtle at first, glimpsed from the corner of an eye, fleeting and uncertain. They appear to float, gliding along the walls and carpeting without disturbing a step, leaving an impression rather than a trace. Staff and guests alike report a strange sensation of being followed, an awareness of movement just beyond immediate perception, as if the motel itself carries memory in every corner. Doors often lock on their own. Guests returning from the beach have found their room entrances secured despite leaving them unlocked, keys untouched on nearby tables. The phenomenon is accompanied by a faint chill in the air and a soft whispering sound, subtle enough to be mistaken for wind, yet persistent enough to unsettle those present. The combination of locked doors, shifting air, and inexplicable sounds creates a heightened sense of awareness, a reminder that the Atlantic Mist Motel is a place where ordinary rules of reality sometimes falter. The parking lot is another locus of strange occurrences. Guests unloading luggage have reported shapes standing among the vehicles. Dark silhouettes that watch silently from a distance. When approached, the figures vanish, leaving no footprints or evidence of their presence. The effect is unsettling, a fleeting glimpse of the unknown that dissolves before explanation can form. Even in the brightest daylight, the memory of these figures lingers, shaping perception and heightening the sense that the motel carries a consciousness of its own. Fog often rolls in from the coast, thick and rolling, softening the outlines of the building and casting hallways and rooms in muted light. The fog carries more than moisture, it carries whispers, the faint echoes of voices speaking softly in languages or words long forgotten. Some guests interpret these as the remnants of previous visitors, echoes of those who checked in but never truly left, lingering in the atmosphere, woven into the fabric of the motel itself. Inside the rooms, objects sometimes shift ever so slightly when no one is present. A chair may tilt differently, a towel may lie in a new position, a book or magazine may be moved. These subtle adjustments suggest awareness, as if the motel is not merely a structure but an entity capable of responding to presence and absence alike. Guests awaken to these changes with a sense of wonder and unease, caught between disbelief and the undeniable evidence before them. Hallways resonate with a quiet energy. Even in the absence of people, the soft scrape of movement can be heard, footsteps pacing or gliding along the carpet, echoing faintly into the night. Shadows shift along walls and corners, sometimes stretching in impossible ways, moving independently of the lighting. The effect is hypnotic and unsettling, creating an immersive environment where perception and reality intertwine. Some guests report sensations rather than concrete sightings. A hand brushing against an arm in passing, a cold draft passing through a room despite closed windows. Or the faint impression of being observed from a doorway or hallway. These experiences are subtle, yet persistent, leaving a lasting impression and a deep sense of connection to the unseen elements of the motel. The Atlantic Mist Motel's location amplifies the atmosphere of the unexplained. The sound of waves crashing against the shore mixes with the foghorns of distant boats and the whispering wind, creating a layered, immersive soundscape. Within this soundscape, the faint voices of apparitions seem natural, blending with the environment and making it difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is otherworldly. Staff working late at night often feel the motel's presence most acutely. Lights may flicker without cause. Elevators hesitate on empty floors. And objects appear subtly displaced. The experience is never overtly frightening. But it instills a sense of respect and caution. The building itself seems to guide, observe, and interact with those within. Communicating in subtle, atmospheric ways that are felt rather than seen. Throughout the night, the hallways, rooms, and parking areas maintain a delicate balance between the visible and the invisible. Ghostly figures glide along corridors. Doors lock silently. Shapes vanish from parking lots. And the fog carries whispers of lives that linger beyond their time. The motel becomes a stage for these phenomena, presenting an ongoing interplay of presence, history, and mystery that engages the imagination and senses alike. For guests who have spent a night within its walls, the Atlantic Mist Motel leaves an indelible impression. Every flicker of light, every subtle shift of an object, every shadow observed in the corner of vision reinforces the sense that the building itself remembers, watches, and responds. The fog along the coast carries the echoes of the past, intertwining with the present to create an immersive, unforgettable experience. The Atlantic Mist Motel is more than a place to stay. It is a living repository of memory and presence, where shadows and whispers intertwine with the sound of the ocean, and where unseen guests continue their silent vigil, and remains a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary converge. Lingering in the night air, waiting for those who dare to witness the subtle mysteries of this coastal retreat. The blue horizon rises along the shores of Jacksonville Beach, its white FAA Section 8 gleaming in the sun and its balconies offering sweeping views of the Atlantic Ocean. During the day, the inn is a picture of tranquility, with the sound of waves crashing against the sand and the salty breeze drifting through open windows. Tourists stroll along the beach, laughter mingling with seagulls calls, while inside, guests relax and enjoy the serene atmosphere. As evening falls, however, the inn takes on a different character. Shadows stretch along the corridors, and the sound of footsteps echoes where no one walks. Guests often report a presence on the top floor balcony, a woman in white, standing silently as she stares out at the ocean. Her form is delicate and almost translucent, and she seems aware of everyone in the vicinity, yet she does not speak or move. Beyond the occasional shift in posture. The experience of encountering her is unsettling. Hallways that appear empty are often filled with the faint sound of footsteps, following guests as they move from room to room. The steps are soft, deliberate, and never entirely explained. creating a persistent tension that follows visitors throughout the night. The air carries unusual scents at Timesa, a mingling of seaweed, salt, and a faint, floral perfume that lingers even when the air conditioner is turned off. The combination of sight, sound, and smell leaves a deep impression, suggesting the inn is alive in ways beyond ordinary perception. Some guests report that the woman in white does more than simply watch. From the balcony, she seems to silently beckon certain individuals toward the edge, toward the ocean beyond. Those who experience this sensation describe an overwhelming urge to follow, as if drawn by a force both compelling and irresistible. Those who heed this call are never seen again. Inside the rooms, subtle disturbances reinforce the sense of an unseen presence. Personal items may shift overnight, the bed covers may appear tousled without explanation. And doors sometimes open or close by themselves. The hallways, usually quiet after hours, seem to pulse with energy, carrying sounds that belong to no living person. Guests often awaken to a sensation of being watched, the feeling lingering as they move through the inner's corridors. The woman in white is not always visible, yet her influence is unmistakable. Shadows in corners seem to bend toward her, lights flicker with her presence, and the scent of the ocean mixed with perfume often precedes any visual appearance. Guests describe an intangible weight in the air when she is near, a presence that fills the space without aggression but with undeniable intent. The effect is a mixture of awe and unease, a sense that the inn is a threshold between the ordinary and the unknown. Staff members are familiar with the inn's reputation, and many speak of nights when the presence is most active. Housekeeping reports objects displaced inexplicably, and maintenance staff notice sounds echoing down empty hallways. Visitors who are unaware of the stories often experience the phenomenon firsthand, unaware that the building holds a history intertwined with the mysterious figure. Each encounter reinforces the legend, layering the inn with memories of those who have come into contact with the unseen. The balcony overlooking the ocean becomes a focal point of the phenomenon. From this vantage, the woman in white appears to study the horizon, her gaze fixed on the waves as if waiting for something long past. The ocean itself seems to respond to her presence, the wind shifting subtly, the waves rolling with a rhythm that complements her stillness. Guests who venture near the balcony feel the air thicken, a tangible tension that draws attention to every sound and movement. The inner's mysteries extend beyond visual encounters. Guests often report feelings of disorientation or heightened awareness. When the woman is near, time seems to stretch and contract. And footsteps echo with unusual clarity. Ordinary sounds take on new significance. When the woman is near, even in well-lit rooms, the sense of being watched persists. Despite the unsettling occurrences, the blue horizon retains its charm and allure. The ocean continues to glisten under the sun, the sand stretches endlessly along the shore, and the inner's amenities remain inviting. Yet for those who have witnessed the woman in white or sensed her presence, the experience leaves a lasting impression. The hallways, the balcony, and even the scent of the air carry the memory of something beyond the ordinary, a presence that is quiet yet persistent, alluring yet ominous. By morning, the inn returns to its appearance of calm. Sunlight reflects on the waves, birds call along the shore. And the hallways are empty and still. Yet the memory of the woman in white lingers. With those who spent the night, along with the echoes of footsteps, the scent of seaweed and perfume. And the sense of having stood at the edge of something unknowable. The blue horizon remains a place of beauty and mystery. Where the ocean meets the unseen. And where every guest carries the lingering awareness of a presence that watches, waits, and sometimes calls beyond the threshold of the ordinary. The Coral Cliff Motel in Fort Pierce sits perched on a bluff overlooking the water, a modest building that has welcomed travelers for decades. During the day, it is a quiet and unassuming place, where guests enjoy the view of the coastline and the gentle hum of the ocean. But as night falls, the motel takes on a different character, one that unsettles even the most seasoned visitors. The hallways, stairwells, and rooms all seem to transform, revealing an energy that feels alive, watchful, and unpredictable. Guests have reported experiences that defy ordinary explanation. Doors open to rooms that do not exist, revealing empty spaces beyond. Yet the layout of the building remains unchanged when inspected. The effect is disorienting, creating a sense that the motel itself is shifting around those inside it. Guests describe stepping into these rooms and feeling an almost palpable presence. As though the walls are observing them, as if the building itself is aware of each movement and each sound. Stairwells are a particular point of focus. Lights along the steps flash on unexpectedly, illuminating brief silhouettes that vanish the moment they are approached. Sometimes the shapes resemble human figures, standing still and watching. Other times they seem less defined, more like shadows shaped by movement and memory. The sudden illumination followed by darkness produces a startling effect, leaving guests tense and uncertain of what they have truly seen. Even staff members have encountered unusual occurrences. They report hearing voices calling from empty rooms. Names spoken softly yet distinctly, though no guests occupy the spaces. The sound often comes from a distance, echoing through hallways in a way that seems almost purposeful. As if the building is guiding attention to areas where the unseen is most active. Attempts to locate the source often reveal nothing, leaving only the memory of a voice that was never there. The sensation of being watched is pervasive throughout the motel. Guests describe hallways and corners that feel alive, as if the structure itself breathes with hidden awareness. Floors creak under no apparent weight, and the faint hum of electricity sometimes seems to respond to human presence. Even the air carries a sense of energy, a subtle pressure that cannot be measured but is deeply felt, particularly late at night when the building is otherwise quiet. The building's exterior, too, contributes to its eerie reputation. Windows reflect light in unusual ways, sometimes showing shapes that vanish when approached. The bluff overlooks the water, but on certain nights, figures appear along the edges or near the distant tree line, only to dissolve into darkness when examined. Guests often remark on the uneasy feeling of being observed from outside and inside simultaneously, an effect that heightens the impression of the motel as a living, responsive entity. Guests who have spent multiple nights at the Coral Cliff Motel often notice a rhythm to the disturbances. Certain doors, stairwells, and corners seem to manifest activity at consistent times, suggesting that the building itself maintains a memory of movement and presence. Lights flicker in patterns that feel deliberate, shadows shift as if following invisible paths, and voices repeat phrases with a subtle variation, as though aware of the listener's attention. The most unsettling reports come from those who experience both visual and auditory phenomena simultaneously. A guest may see a shadow standing at the top of the stairwell while simultaneously hearing a voice calling their name from a room several floors away. These experiences are brief, often fading before they can be fully understood, yet the combination of sight and sound leaves a lingering impression of being part of something larger than oneself. Despite the eerie occurrences, the Coral Cliff Motel remains a place of natural beauty and comfort by day. Sunlight reflects off the water and the bluff, warm breezes flow through open windows, and the simplicity of the rooms provides a sense of ordinary refuge. At night, however, the motel reveals the hidden layers of its character, offering experiences that blend observation with imagination, mystery with memory, and presence with absence. The building itself seems to participate in a quiet dialogue with its occupants. Doors, lights, and shadows all communicate subtly, producing moments that are fleeting yet unforgettable. Guests leave with a sense that the Coral Cliff Motel is more than a collection of rooms and hallways. It is a place alive with history, memory, and unseen energy. Every movement, every sound, every change in light contributes to an atmosphere that is immersive, unsettling, and compelling. That is the essence of the Coral Cliff Motel. As night deepens, the motel rests in a quiet state. Yet its presence remains unmistakable. Hallways wait for the next visitor, stairwells hold their fleeting shadows. And rooms seem to hum with anticipation. The Coral Cliff Motel is a space where ordinary expectations are challenged. And where the unseen interacts with the living in ways that are subtle, persistent, and unforgettable. It is a building that watches, shifts, and remembers. Leaving those who enter with stories, impressions, and memories that linger long after they have departed. The Silver Sands Motel sits just a few steps from the waves of Cocoa Beach, its neon sign flickering faintly in the night. By day, the sound of gulls and the shimmer of sunlight on the ocean create an inviting atmosphere, the perfect setting for vacationers and travelers seeking calm. But when darkness falls, the motel transforms. The air grows heavier, the halls quiet, and an unseen presence begins to make itself known. Late-night travelers often hear knocking beneath their doors. Sometimes it comes in short bursts, other times slow and methodical, echoing through the quiet corridor. Guests pause, straining to see if anyone is outside, only to find the hallways empty. The sensation is accompanied by whispers, soft and unintelligible, seeming to rise from the walls themselves, close enough to brush against the ear and yet impossible to locate. Mirrors within the motel hold strange reflections. Guests have reported seeing figures standing behind them even when the hallways are entirely empty. The figures are faint, translucent, and fleeting, vanishing the moment one turns to face them. The experience leaves a lingering unease, as if the walls themselves are watching and recording every movement, every heartbeat, and every hesitation. Some rooms in the motel are known for an oppressive cold that seems to settle over anyone who enters. The temperature drops suddenly, frost-like chills brushing along the skin despite the warm night outside. Beds depress as if someone invisible has taken a seat, a subtle weight that shifts and moves. The sensation is enough to make even the bravest guests pause and consider leaving the room entirely. Staff who work the late shift describe similar experiences. Hallways echo with footsteps that do not belong to anyone. Lights flicker without cause. And objects occasionally move from their original positions. Cleaning staff often feel the presence of someone behind them. Yet when they glance back, no one is there. The motel itself seems to breathe. A living entity aware of every occupant and their actions. The architecture of the Silver Sands Motel enhances the feeling of the supernatural. Narrow corridors, glass windows reflecting moonlight, and the repetitive patterns of doors and hallways create illusions that are easily mistaken for movement. Shadows stretch across the floors and walls, blending with the forms that appear in mirrors and darkened corners. It is easy to believe that the building itself is a threshold, a space where the natural world and the unseen meet. Guests who linger in the hallways during the night report a sensation of being followed. A cool breeze brushes along the skin, carrying faint murmurs and laughter that rise and fall with the rhythm of the ocean outside. The sound of waves crashing against the shore seems to harmonize with the whispers, creating a chorus that blurs the line between what is real and what is not. The air feels alive, attentive, and responsive to those who walk its length. Some visitors awaken to find their belongings rearranged or chairs slightly shifted, subtle signs that the motel has been occupied by a presence unseen. The movements are never aggressive, but deliberate enough to leave a lasting impression. Beds that feel occupied, doors that creak and knock, and mirrors reflecting figures create a tension that is palpable, a reminder that the Silver Sands Motel is more than it seems during daylight hours. The experiences are not constant but episodic, coming in waves as though the motel itself chooses when to reveal its secrets. A guest may spend an entire night without incident, only to be greeted on another by cold air, whispered warnings, or reflections of figures in mirrors. This unpredictability adds to the mystique, keeping visitors on edge and fully aware of every sound and movement around them. The proximity to the ocean amplifies the effect. The waves provide a steady background hum that blends with the mysterious sounds within the building. Wine through open windows carries the scent of salt and intermingling with the faint fragrance that sometimes accompanies. Each element of the environment contributes to the immersive, making it difficult to separate the natural from the supernatural. Those who experience the presence report a mix of fear and fascination. The motel does not harm, yet its influence is undeniable. The knocking, the whispers, the reflections, and the weight on the beds leave a lasting impression, creating memories that persist long after guests depart. There is a sense of awareness in the motel, a subtle intelligence guiding the phenomena, observing visitors as they navigate its spaces. The Silver Sands Motel continues to operate, offering comfort and convenience to daytime travelers, yet it carries with it the reputation of the night. Guests who stay late or arrive after dark find themselves part of a story that stretches beyond the ordinary. Shadows move in harmony with their steps, whispers rise from the walls, and mirrors reflect more than just their own image. The building endures, its neon sign flickering against the night sky. Hallways stretch into darkness, doors hide unseen presences. Beds retain the weight of invisible occupants. Each night, the motel transforms into a liminal space, where the living coexist with the unseen, where the ocean hums its eternal song, and where the Silver Sands Motel silently observes and participates in the mysterious life. In the quiet of the night, the motel's presence becomes undeniable. Cold air brushes along the skin, knocks echo from locked doors, and shadows shift where none should exist. Mirrors show figures that vanish in an instant, and beds bear the imprint of someone unseen. The Silver Sands Motel is more than a place to rest. It is a space where the natural and the supernatural converge, offering an experience that lingers in memory, haunting yet mesmerizing, night after night. The Whispering Waves Motel in Sarasota sits quietly along the coastline, its pastel walls reflecting the soft glow of streetlights and the occasional glimmer of moonlight on the water. By day, it is a serene retreat for travelers seeking sun and surf, with the sound of gentle waves lapping against the shore and the scent of salt carried on the breeze. Yet as night falls, the motel reveals a different, more mysterious side, one that has left guests and staff alike with experiences they cannot easily explain. Every night at precisely 2:30 a.m., a strange phenomenon begins. Guests report waking to the distant sound of voices chanting along the shoreline, carried by the wind and mingling with the natural rhythm of the ocean. The voices are soft, almost melodic, yet insistent, creating an eerie soundtrack to the darkness. Even when doors and windows are closed, the sound reaches inside, filling rooms with an atmosphere that is both mesmerizing and unsettling. Lights throughout the motel flicker unpredictably during these hours. Ceiling lamps pulse with sudden intensity and dim just as quickly, creating long shadows that stretch and twist across walls and floors. The effect is subtle at first, but over time it becomes clear that the building itself seems to respond to some unseen energy, synchronizing with the chanting and the rhythm of the waves outside. Water stains appear on ceilings and walls in patterns that cannot be attributed to leaks or weather. They form suddenly and often align with the timing of the nightly phenomenon, further deepening the sense that something beyond the ordinary is at work. Guests awake to these markings with a mix of curiosity and unease, sensing that the motel holds a memory that manifests in the physical world. Some report the sensation of invisible hands tugging at their ankles from beneath the bed. The touch is light, almost teasing, but unmistakable, leaving an impression that lingers long after the initial contact. It is never aggressive, yet it leaves a profound awareness of presence, a reminder that the motel's history and its unseen inhabitants are more than mere stories. The shoreline itself becomes an active participant in the experience. The ocean wind carries the chanting voices, mixing with the natural sound of waves and the distant calls of night birds. Shadows of movement can sometimes be seen along the sand, Though when approached, they vanish as if dissolved by the night air. Guests describe the effect as hypnotic. A moment where the boundary between reality and the unseen seems to blur. And the familiar landscape transforms into a stage for an ethereal performance. Hallways within the motel take on a unique quality during these hours. Footsteps echo softly along carpeting, yet when investigated, no one is present. Shadows stretch unnaturally along walls, moving in ways that do not correspond to the lighting or the structure of the building. The experience is immersive, drawing those awake into a world that is both familiar and uncanny. Where ordinary perception feels incomplete and every sound is magnified. Staff working late or performing nightly maintenance report an acute awareness of the phenomenon. Elevators pause longer on certain floors. Lights flare or dim without cause. And objects shift subtly when no one is watching. Towels, chairs, and personal items sometimes appear slightly moved, reinforcing the impression that the motel is alive with a consciousness that responds to both presence and absence. The atmosphere on the top floors is particularly intense. Rooms facing the shoreline are said to carry the clearest sounds of chanting. And the strongest sense of being observed. Guests describe feeling a gentle pressure, as if an unseen entity is present, attentive yet unobtrusive. It is a presence that demands acknowledgement, a reminder that the motel holds memories of those who came and went, leaving traces that remain interwoven with the physical space. The timing of the phenomenon is precise, almost ritualistic. At 2:30 a.m., the chanting begins. Lights flicker. And the subtle movements occur in unison, creating a layered, cinematic experience. It is as if the motel itself has a rhythm, a pulse, that synchronizes with the ocean, the night wind, and the unseen forces inhabiting the property. Those who have experienced it speak of an atmosphere thick with anticipation. And a strange sense of reverence for the mysteries that unfold nightly. Guests often leave the motel with memories that are both vivid and unsettling. The combination of chanting voices, flickering lights, shifting objects, and gentle touches creates an experience that engages all the senses. It is immersive and compelling, leaving a lasting impression that is difficult to articulate yet impossible to forget. The Whispering Waves Motel becomes more than lodging, it is a space where time, memory, and presence converge, offering a nightly glimpse into the extraordinary. Even in the early morning, as the sun rises over Sarasota and the ocean glistens under its light, traces of the night's events linger. Shadows retreat, the chanting fades into memory, and the air returns to its normal rhythm. Yet guests and staff carry a sense of having witnessed something beyond ordinary experience, a subtle awareness that the motel holds stories and presences that continue to resonate in the quiet hours. The Whispering Waves Motel stands as a testament to the thin boundary between the natural and the supernatural. Every hallway, room, and shoreline view is imbued with an energy that is both haunting and captivating. At 2:30 a.m., when lights flicker, chants echo across the sand, and unseen hands brush lightly against the living. The motel reveals itself as more than a structure. It is a living chronicle of presence, memory, and mystery, inviting those who encounter it to experience a night where the ordinary and the extraordinary converge, leaving an imprint that endures long after dawn. The Ocean Pearl Inn stands along the Fort Lauderdale shoreline, its whitewashed walls gleaming in sunlight and its balconies offering sweeping views of the Atlantic. By day, the inn is inviting, with the scent of salt carried on the breeze and the sound of waves lapping gently against the shore. Guests stroll along the sand, their footsteps mingling with those of seagulls, and the atmosphere is calm and familiar. And the sound of waves lapping gently against the shore. But when storms roll in from the ocean, the inn transforms. Rain lashes against windows, wind whistles through gaps in the architecture. And shadows stretch across the hallways in the dim light. It is during these turbulent nights that guests report seeing a figure on the balconies, The figure is clad in a raincoat, standing motionless as the storm rages around it, staring toward the horizon. Its presence is unsettling yet commanding, a silent witness to the chaos of wind and rain. The appearances are sudden and often fleeting. Guests awake in the early hours to see the figure standing on a balcony just beyond their window. In the dim, flickering light of storm lamps, it is difficult to discern features, yet the shape is unmistakably human. Those who have observed it describe a sense of deep unease, as though the figure carries the weight of an unresolved story, a lingering presence tethered to the ocean it once feared and respected. Inside the rooms, disturbances are common. Towels and personal items are found moved from their original positions or entirely missing, as if handled by invisible hands. Objects placed carefully on counters or tables are shifted overnight, leaving guests to wonder whether they dreamed the changes or if something unseen is actively interacting with their environment. The subtle intrusions, combined with the storm outside, create an atmosphere charged with anticipation and tension. The legend surrounding the figure is as dark as the storms it seems to favor. Some say it is the spirit of a traveler who drowned offshore years ago, swept from safety by a sudden wave. Instead of finding peace, the soul returned, tethered to the inn and the coastline, roaming the balconies and hallways during storms, ensuring that no one leaves unobserved. It is a presence that is neither openly hostile nor forgiving, existing in a state of restless vigilance. Guests often report a heightened sense of awareness during stormy nights. Every creak of the floor, every gust of wind, and every distant clap of thunder seems amplified. Hallways that are empty in daylight feel confined and unpredictable, as though shadows move just beyond the edge of vision. Even footsteps echo, yet no one is present. Even ordinary objects like chairs or luggage take on an unfamiliar significance, appearing to have been disturbed by an invisible observer. The balconies themselves are the most significant locations of activity. The figure in the raincoat appears here with remarkable consistency during storms, standing with an almost ritualistic stillness. Guests who venture near feel the air thicken, a tangible pressure that suggests the presence is aware of their approach. When the figure is observed, it does not move or speak, but its silent authority leaves a lasting impression. Sometimes it seems to dissolve into the wind and rain, vanishing as if it were never there, only to reappear hours later in the same spot. The sounds of storms amplify the inn's mysterious presence. Rain hammering on the roof, wind whistling along the hallways, and waves crashing against the shore provide a soundtrack that makes subtle phenomena more noticeable. Doors may open and close without cause, the soft shuffle of unseen footsteps can be heard along the corridors, and guests report a sense of being watched, followed, or measured by a presence that remains just out of reach. Even in moments of stillness, the inn seems to carry the memory of the past. The figure's presence is accompanied by a subtle sense of history and loss. Guests have described a lingering chill, a brief scent of salt and wet earth, and the impression that the ocean itself is part of the spirit's essence. The experience leaves a profound impact, combining fear, curiosity, and a deep awareness of the unseen. By morning, the storms subside, and the inn resumes its outward tranquility. Sunlight glints across the waves, seagulls call along the shore, and the pastel walls regain their serene appearance. Yet for those who witnessed the figure or experienced the disturbances during the night, towels and personal items remain displaced in their minds. Footsteps echo long after the hallways are empty, and the silent vigil of the figure in the raincoat remains vivid. The ocean pearl inn endures as a place where beauty and mystery coexist. By day, it offers comfort and relaxation, the sounds of the ocean providing a familiar backdrop. By night, especially during storms, it reveals a hidden dimension, a space where a restless spirit moves unseen. A space where a restless spirit moves unseen, reminding visitors that the world is larger, stranger, and far more alive than it may appear. The presence along the balconies, the disturbances in the rooms, and the weight of the unseen All contribute to an unforgettable experience, one that lingers in memory. As the wind carries the sound of the ocean across Fort Lauderdale's shore. The Driftwood Cove Motel in Destin sits quietly along the shoreline, its weathered exterior and simple charm inviting travelers to escape the bustle of everyday life. During the day, it is a place of sun-soaked relaxation, with the scent of saltwater drifting in from the nearby beach and seagulls calling overhead. Yet as darkness falls, the motel reveals a different character, one that has captured the attention and curiosity of those who visit after sunset. Guests have reported seeing a floating lantern in the parking lot at midnight. Its soft glow bobbing in the darkness as if guided by an unseen hand. Casting flickering shadows that stretch across parked cars and the motel facade. The sight is brief but captivating, leaving observers with a sense of wonder tinged with unease. It appears without warning and disappears just as suddenly, vanishing into the night without a trace. Inside the motel, faint music often drifts from the lounge. It is soft and melodic, notes carrying through empty hallways and open doorways. The source is never clear, and those who follow the sound report that it shifts, pulling them along corridors that seem to lengthen beyond reason. The music is beautiful yet unsettling, enchanting yet elusive, drawing attention while resisting discovery. Some visitors describe feeling as though the melody itself has a will, guiding their movements through spaces that seem familiar yet subtly altered. Hallways within the Driftwood Cove Motel often behave in ways that defy expectation. Steps that should reach a stairwell in a few strides seem to stretch endlessly. Guests report the disorienting experience of walking the same distance, yet finding that the stairs remain just out of reach. This subtle distortion of space creates a growing awareness that the building is more than just a structure. It reacts to those within it, shaping movement and perception in ways that are difficult to define. The combination of floating lanterns, drifting music, and elongating hallways produces an atmosphere both captivating and unnerving. Guests describe a sense of being watched, not with malice, but with quiet attention. The motel seems to respond to their presence, adjusting light, sound, and space to create an experience that is immersive and otherworldly. Even seasoned travelers find themselves second-guessing familiar routes, sensing that the motel is alive with an energy that is subtle yet unmistakable. Those who follow the music often find themselves lost in thought, caught between curiosity and caution. The melody winds through the corridors, sometimes leading to empty rooms, sometimes to stairwells that defy logic. The longer it is followed, the more the building seems to stretch, creating the impression that one is walking through a space that exists both within and beyond ordinary reality. Stories abound of visitors who turned down hallways after hearing the music and emerged disoriented, unsure of how much time had passed or how far they had traveled. The floating lanterns in the parking lot remain one of the most enduring mysteries. Some claim that they mark places of significance within the motel, while others suggest they are a signal or guide, perhaps connected to the unseen forces that inhabit the building. Observers report that the lanterns move independently of wind or human intervention, drifting in patterns that feel deliberate yet inexplicable. Watching the lanterns is mesmerizing, drawing attention even as it evokes a sense of caution and wonder. The lounge, from which the music emanates, is often empty. Chairs remain unoccupied, tables are set neatly, and yet the soft strains of melody continue. Drifting through open doorways and hallways. Guests who enter the lounge rarely see a source for the music. Instruments are in place but untouched. The sound exists as though independent of physical cause, filling the space with an ephemeral presence that can be felt more than understood. Despite the strange phenomena, the Driftwood Cove Motel remains a place of natural beauty and calm. The ocean continues to lap gently against the shore, and daylight brings the warmth of the sun. And the familiar routines of guests and staff. Yet as night falls, the building transforms into a place where ordinary expectations give way to the extraordinary. Floating lanterns, lingering music, and hallways that stretch beyond reason combine to create an experience that is immersive, haunting, and unforgettable. Visitors leave the Driftwood Cove Motel with stories of lights that move without hands, music that floats through empty corridors, and hallways that seem to stretch infinitely. The combination of natural beauty and subtle mystery creates an environment that lingers in memory long after departure. The motel offers more than comfort. It offers a glimpse into the unexpected. A space where perception and reality intersect in ways that are compelling and enigmatic. The combination of natural beauty and subtle mystery creates an environment that lingers in memory long after departure. The motel offers more than comfort. It offers a glimpse into the unexpected. A space where perception and reality intersect in ways that are compelling and enigmatic. Where the ocean meets the shadows of the forgotten. And the abandoned dreams of those who dare to dream. Where the ocean meets the shadows of the forgotten and the abandoned dreams of those who dare to dream. And the abandoned dreams of those who dare to dream, where the ocean meets the shadows of the forgotten. Where the ocean meets the shadows of the forgotten and the abandoned dreams of those who dare to dream. Of the forgotten and the abandoned dreams of those who dare to dream, where the ocean meets the shadows. Where the ocean meets the shadows of the forgotten and the abandoned dreams of those who dare to dream of the forgotten. As midnight approaches, the Driftwood Cove Motel settles into its nocturnal rhythm. Lanterns drift in the parking lot. Music floats from the lounge. And hallways expand in ways that challenge understanding. The building itself seems to breathe, moving with a quiet awareness that is impossible to ignore. Guests may follow the music, wander through endless corridors. But the experience remains safe, intriguing, and unforgettable. The Driftwood Cove Motel is a place where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist, inviting every traveler to explore the unseen while savoring the calm of the ocean. The Coral Moon Motel rests along the quiet shores of Naples. Its pastel walls illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. By day, the surf crashes gently against the sand. And the scent of salt lingers in the air. The motel seems welcoming and calm, offering a peaceful retreat for travelers. But when night falls, a different presence emerges, one that is impossible to ignore and impossible to explain. Guests often speak of a man who appears in the hallways late at night. He is always soaked, his suit clinging to his frame as if he has just emerged from the ocean. He walks slowly, deliberately, never blinking, never speaking. His presence is silent yet imposing, an enigma that seems to fill the hallway with a weight all its own. Those who encounter him describe a sudden sense of unease, a disorienting shift in the world around them. A wave of nausea may sweep over the body, accompanied by dizziness and a frantic need to move. Some attempt to pass him, only to find the hallway stretching endlessly, as though the space itself resists their movement. The instinct to flee becomes overwhelming, yet the mind struggles to comprehend what has caused it. When guests finally step outside, they find the beach empty. The moon reflects off the waves. The wind brushes through the palm trees. And the sand appears untouched. No figure stands waiting, yet the memory of the man in the soaked suit lingers. Vivid and impossible to dismiss. The contrast between the hallways and the open beach deepens the sense of mystery, making the motel feel like a threshold between worlds. Staff who work overnight speak of similar experiences, though their encounters are quieter, subtler. The hallways seem to shift when the man appears, shadows lengthen, and lights flicker in a manner that defies explanation. Cleaning staff often feel a pressure in the air, a tension that grows as if the building itself is aware of the presence moving through its corridors. Doors may creak gently, floorboards groan under no weight, and mirrors catch glimpses of something that cannot be seen directly. The architecture of the Coral Moon Motel amplifies the unsettling atmosphere. Long corridors lined with doors, low light from wall sconces, and reflective surfaces create an environment where perception is easily distorted. Shadows stretch unnaturally, corners hold forms that seem to shift. And the hallways echo with footsteps that do not belong to the living. The motel itself becomes an active participant, enhancing the presence of the unseen. And shaping the experience of those who pass through. Guests have reported repeated encounters with the man. Each time, the sensation intensifies. The nausea returns more quickly, the dizziness grows stronger, and the urgent need to escape becomes almost overwhelming. Some describe the experience as a dreamlike loop, where the hallways extend beyond reason and the path to safety seems to vanish, leaving only the oppressive weight of the presence and the memory of a man who should not exist. The origin of the figure is unknown. Some speculate that he may be a sailor lost to the ocean. A soul bound to the water and the motel by forces beyond understanding. Others suggest that he is a fragment of memory, a lingering echo of a tragedy that touched this place long ago. Regardless of the reason, his presence is undeniable. And the effect on those who encounter him is profound and lasting. The motel itself is quiet during the day, the sun masking the lingering tension and providing a sense of normalcy. Yet, as evening descends and the shadows lengthen, the atmosphere changes. The effect on visitors is often psychological as much as physical. Even after leaving the motel, they recount the details of their encounter vividly. The memory of a soaked man walking slowly down the hall, the oppressive tension, the nausea and dizziness, and the emptiness of the beach remain imprinted on their minds. It is an experience that lingers, a story that becomes part of the traveler's personal history, impossible to forget and difficult to rationalize. The Coral Moon Motel continues to operate, offering accommodation along the serene Naples coastline. Travelers arrive seeking a quiet retreat, unaware of the experiences that may await after dark. For those who wander the hallways alone, who walk to the end of a corridor or pause at a reflective surface, the presence may make itself known. That it is a space where the ordinary and the extraordinary intersect. It is subtle yet undeniable, a reminder that the motel is more than just walls and rooms, that it holds a space where the ordinary and the extraordinary intersect. The ocean outside remains constant, waves breaking gently along the shore, the moon reflecting silver on the sand. But within the motel, the hallways stretch endlessly, shadows shift, and the man in the soaked suit continues his slow, deliberate walk. In the quiet hours of the night, the Coral Moon Motel becomes a place suspended between reality and the unseen. The weight of his silent watch pressing on those who pass through. Guests leave with memories etched into their minds, a story of unease and wonder that lingers long after their stay. The motel endures, a beacon on the Naples coastline, where the ordinary meets the extraordinary, and where the presence of the unseen continues its patient, silent watch night after night. The Pelican Breeze Inn in Key Largo sits quietly along the edge of the water, its balconies offering views of gently swaying palms and the shimmering ocean. During the day, it is a tranquil retreat, filled with the sounds of waves and the calls of seabirds. Yet as evening falls and the sun dips below the horizon, the inn reveals a side that is far from serene. Lights begin to flicker in strange patterns along the hallways. The pulses are irregular at first, subtle enough to be dismissed as a minor electrical quirk. But soon, the flickering takes on a rhythm, forming shapes that are impossible to ignore. Shadows dance across walls, creating the impression of figures moving just out of reach, and the atmosphere becomes heavy, almost tangible with anticipation. Guests have reported their reflections moving independently in mirrors. A calm and empty corridor may suddenly reveal a reflection turning its head, tilting, or stepping aside while the person in the room remains still. Furniture shifts silently in rooms and hallways. Chairs, tables, and even doors occasionally move without warning, sometimes blocking exits or creating unexpected obstacles. Guests awaken to find pathways obstructed or objects rearranged in ways that defy explanation. The changes are never overtly threatening, yet they evoke a strong sense of presence, as if unseen hands are guiding the environment with a deliberate intent. The guests begin to suspect that they are not alone in the house. Staff at the Pelican Breeze Inn speak of one room that has been permanently locked. Repeated incidents in this space, including the disappearance of guests, have left it untouched for years. The door remains closed, a physical reminder of the unknown forces that inhabit the inn. Staff avoid mentioning the room in passing, and its mere presence casts a shadow over the rest of the property, influencing the energy felt throughout the building. Hallways hum with quiet activity long after lights are turned off. Footsteps echo softly on carpeted floors where no one walks. Shadows stretch and twist along walls as if responding to invisible movement. Guests describe a sensation of being observed, a quiet pressure that seems to follow them from room to room. The effect is subtle but persistent, heightening awareness and creating an immersive experience that lingers in memory. The inn's mirrors offer a window into another dimension. Reflections occasionally show more than just the room or the person standing before them. Shapes form, figures appear and vanish, and movements occur independently of the observer. Some report seeing fleeting silhouettes, as if previous occupants or unseen entities are replaying moments long past. These reflections leave an impression of layered realities, a subtle reminder that perception within the inn is never entirely reliable. Lights continue to play a significant role in the Pelican Breeze experience. Flickering bulbs, sudden darkness, and unexpected illumination combine to create a constantly shifting environment. Shadows appear where none should exist, and corners seem to deepen unnaturally. The interplay of light and dark amplifies every subtle movement, making the ordinary feel strange and the familiar unnerving. The ordinary feels strange, and the familiar unnerving. Guests report hearing sounds that cannot be explained. A soft scrape of furniture, a faint whisper along the hall, or the quiet click of a door handle often occur without any visible source. These noises are intermittent, almost musical in their rhythm, and serve to reinforce the presence that permeates the building. The effect is immersive, drawing those awake into an environment that seems to exist simultaneously in the real and the otherworldly. The permanently locked room stands as a silent testament to the inn's mysteries. It is a space avoided, yet impossible to ignore. The energy around it is palpable, influencing the atmosphere of adjacent hallways and rooms. Guests who have stayed nearby often report heightened experiences, flickering lights, moving furniture, and the sensation of unseen observers. The room embodies the essence of the inn, a reminder that some places hold their secrets tightly, preserving them for those brave enough to witness. At night, the Pelican Breeze Inn becomes a theater of subtle phenomena. Shadows ripple across walls, mirrors reveal independent reflections, lights flicker in strange sequences, and furniture shifts without explanation. The building is active, responsive, and deeply immersive. Every corridor, every room, and every corner is part of an environment that engages both the senses and the imagination. Where the boundaries between reality and madness blur. Staff and guests alike describe the inn as a space where ordinary understanding of reality seems to falter. The interplay of light, shadow, and movement creates an atmosphere of tension and fascination. Even the ocean wind carries a sense of presence, its gentle rush through open windows amplifying the subtle movements inside. The inn itself becomes an active participant, interacting with those who inhabit it in ways that are never fully predictable. The Pelican Breeze Inn is more than a place to stay. It is a living chronicle of presence, memory, and mystery. Shadows, reflections, and flickering lights serve as reminders of the unseen forces that linger within its walls. The locked room, the shifting furniture, and the independent reflections all contribute to an environment that is both haunting and captivating. Every guest who walks its halls leaves with an impression of a space that is alive, aware, and watching, a place where ordinary perception meets the extraordinary. From the quiet lapping of the ocean to the dimly lit hallways, every element of the Pelican Breeze Inn contributes to an immersive experience. The lights flicker, shadows ripple, and mirrors reveal more than they should, creating a cinematic landscape of mystery and suspense. Mirrors reveal more than they should, creating a cinematic landscape of mystery and suspense. Those who visit encounter a building that remembers, observes, and interacts, leaving them with a sense of wonder, curiosity, and a lingering awareness of the unexplained. Leaving them with a sense of wonder, curiosity, and a lingering awareness of the unexplained. The Seafoam Shores Motel sits along the sun-kissed coast of St. Petersburg, its pastel-colored walls and ocean-facing balconies offering the promise of a peaceful retreat. By day, the sound of waves lapping against the shore and gulls calling overhead creates an atmosphere of calm. Guests stroll along the sand, feeling the warmth of the sun and the gentle breeze carrying the salt of the sea. Yet beneath this tranquil surface, the motel holds an energy that is anything but ordinary. As evening falls, subtle disturbances begin to emerge. The ocean breeze, usually refreshing and familiar, seems to carry whispers that mimic the conversations of guests. Phrases once spoken are repeated softly along the hallways and through open windows. At first, these sounds are dismissed as echoes or the imagination, but their persistence and clarity quickly make it apparent that something unseen is listening, observing, and perhaps even interacting with those staying at the inn. The parking lot becomes a place of quiet tension after dark. Guests have reported hearing voices calling their names, drawing them toward the edge of the lot or the nearby beach. When approached, there is never a tangible source, only the lingering sound fading into the night. The experience leaves a lasting impression, a mixture of intrigue and unease that colors every movement through the motel's exterior spaces. Along the shoreline, figures have been seen standing just beyond the sand, silhouetted against the moonlight. These shapes are human in form but remain still and distant, as if frozen in time. When approached, they dissolve into the fog that rolls in from the ocean, leaving no trace of their presence. The effect is both beautiful and unsettling, a reminder that the world at Seafoam Shores is not confined to what is immediately visible or comprehensible. Inside the motel, the building itself seems to absorb sound and time. Footsteps echo oddly in empty hallways, doors may close without cause. And even the most ordinary rooms feel charged with an awareness of unseen activity. The subtle distortions of time and sound reinforce the impression that the motel exists on a threshold between the ordinary and the mysterious. Visitors who notice these phenomena often experience a heightened sense of attentiveness. The soft rustle of curtains, the shift of shadows across the walls, and the faint scent of salt carried through open windows. Objects may be found slightly displaced, rooms may feel colder than expected. And the combination of sound, movement, and light evokes the sense of being part of something larger than oneself, something both unseen and persistent. The whispers along the ocean breeze are among the most disconcerting experiences. Guests hear their own words repeated back in subtle, distorted forms, as if carried and altered by the wind. Occasionally, phrases that have never been spoken by anyone in the room are heard, creating an impression that the motel holds memory, echoing the lives and conversations of those who have passed through before. It is a haunting but strangely compelling presence, drawing attention to the thin line between the living and the unseen. Nighttime walks along the beach reveal further mysteries. Figures at the water's edge, visible only at certain angles or in certain lights, seem to observe quietly, before dissolving into the fog when approached. Their appearance is fleeting, yet the impression they leave is lasting. Guests often describe a mix of awe and apprehension, feeling watched, yet encountering nothing tangible. The shoreline, illuminated by moonlight and lapped by gentle waves, becomes a stage for these subtle, enigmatic interactions. The building itself amplifies the sense of strangeness. Corridors curve and stretch beyond expectations. And the quiet murmur of the ocean sometimes seems to travel through walls, blending with human-like whispers. Even in rooms with windows closed and lights on, the feeling of being present in a space that is alive with unseen activity is unmistakable. The combination of natural elements and the inna's subtle manipulations of sound and perception creates an immersive, almost cinematic experience for those staying overnight. Staff members, while familiar with the reports, often speak of them quietly. They recount incidents of guests arriving late at night, shaken by voices, sightings, or disturbances in their rooms. The motel has developed a reputation for these subtle hauntings, and while they are never threatening, they are persistent. Each encounter adds to the collective energy of the inn, layering it with memory, observation, and the quiet presence of forces that remain just out of reach. By morning, the Seafoam Shores Motel returns to its sunlit serenity. Waves glint under the rising sun, gulls circle overhead, and the pastel walls reflect warmth and tranquility. Yet for those who stayed through the night, the memory of whispers, distant voices, and figures dissolving into fog remains vivid. The building, the ocean, and the breeze continue to hold these impressions, a quiet but persistent reminder that the motel exists on the edge of the ordinary and the extraordinary. Seafoam Shores remains a place where the natural beauty of St. Petersburg meets the mysterious. The whispers, the figures, and the subtle manipulations of sound and time create an atmosphere that is both mesmerizing and unsettling. Guests leave with an awareness that the inn holds more than mere walls and rooms, that the space itself has memory, presence, and a quiet vigilance that watches from the shadows, along the sand, and in the drift of the ocean breeze. The Coral Wave Lodge on Fort Myers Beach is a coastal retreat known for its ocean views and gentle sea breeze. By day, the lodge offers warmth and comfort, sunlight spilling across balconies and rooms, and the soothing sound of waves rolling onto the shore. Yet as night falls, the building takes on a different presence, one that evokes curiosity, tension, and a subtle unease among its visitors. The ordinary comfort of the lodge is replaced by experiences that defy explanation, leaving a lasting impression on those who stay. Guests often report doors opening to empty rooms. A room that was securely closed moments ago suddenly stands ajar, revealing no one inside. The movement is silent and deliberate, leaving only the impression that someone unseen has passed through. Those who enter the rooms often sense a presence, though it is never confrontational, simply observing from the shadows. The effect is disorienting. As the familiar space becomes unpredictable, a place where ordinary expectations do not always apply. Showers running on their own add another layer to the loggia's mysteries. Water turns on, cascading from the showerhead without any human interaction. The sound is gentle at first, then louder, filling the room with a steady rhythm. Guests approaching the source find no one there, yet the water continues, flowing as though responding to an invisible operator. The phenomenon occurs in various rooms, reinforcing the sense that the lodge itself is alive, reacting to those within it in ways that are subtle yet undeniable. Perhaps the most unnerving experience comes from the sound of laughter echoing through the halls. Patrons have reported hearing a man laughing hysterically, a sound that is sudden, intense, and impossible to locate. The laughter seems to come from just around corners, from the stairwells, or from rooms long since vacated. When anyone seeks the source, the sound vanishes entirely, leaving only an empty corridor and the lingering sense of an unseen presence reveling in its own mystery. Guests often awaken in places they do not remember moving to. In places they do not remember moving to. Some find themselves on the balcony, staring at the moonlit ocean, even if they fell asleep in the middle of the bed. On the balcony, staring at the moonlit ocean, even if they fell asleep in the middle of the bed. Staring at the moonlit ocean, even if they fell asleep in the middle of the bed. Even if they fell asleep in the middle of the bed. In the middle of the bed. The experience is never harmful, but it leaves a profound sense of displacement, a realization that the familiar physical boundaries of the room are not always absolute. Harmful, but it leaves a profound sense of displacement, a realization that the familiar physical boundaries of the room are not always absolute. But it leaves a profound sense of displacement, a realization that the familiar physical boundaries of the room are not always absolute. A profound sense of displacement, a realization that the familiar physical boundaries of the room are not always absolute. Of displacement, a realization that the familiar physical boundaries of the room are not always absolute. A realization that the familiar physical boundaries of the room are not always absolute. That the familiar physical boundaries of the room are not always absolute. Physical boundaries of the room are not always absolute. Of the room are not always absolute. Are not always absolute. Always absolute. Travelers describe the sensation as both eerie and captivating, a moment where the ordinary rules of space and movement seem suspended. The sensation is both eerie and captivating, a moment where the ordinary rules of space and movement seem suspended. As both eerie and captivating, a moment where the ordinary rules of space and movement seem suspended. Eerie and captivating, a moment where the ordinary rules of space and movement seem suspended. Captivating, a moment where the ordinary rules of space and movement seem suspended. A moment where the ordinary rules of space and movement seem suspended. Where the ordinary rules of space and movement seem suspended. Ordinary rules of space and movement seem suspended. Of space and movement seem suspended. And movement seem suspended. Seem suspended. Suspended. Hallways in the Coral Wave Lodge have a life of their own. Shadows shift in corners, stretching along walls in ways that seem intentional, yet undefined. Light from lamps and windows plays across these shadows, creating patterns that appear to move independently. Guests often feel a heightened awareness, noticing small sounds, the creak of floorboards, or the subtle swish of a curtain, each amplified by the quiet energy of the night. The balcony itself becomes a focal point for these unusual occurrences. Ocean breezes mingle with the scent of salt and sand, carrying whispers of movement from the halls behind. Standing there, visitors report a sensation of being watched. Not in a threatening way, but with the quiet attention of something unseen. The expanse of the ocean contrasts with the subtle, persistent disturbances inside, producing an environment that is both calming and disquieting. Patrons also notice small objects shifting inexplicably. Chairs may be slightly rotated, books or personal items moved. And doors that were locked sometimes left open. The changes are subtle enough to be easily dismissed, yet consistent enough to create a pattern. Guests report these small anomalies with a mixture of intrigue and trepidation, feeling that the lodge itself interacts with them in ways that cannot be rationally explained. Despite these experiences, the Coral Wave Lodge retains its charm. Daylight brings warmth and tranquility, sunlight reflecting off the ocean and illuminating the rooms with a gentle glow. Yet as night deepens, the lodge reveals the hidden layers of its personality, offering encounters that are atmospheric, mysterious, and immersive. The combination of ordinary comfort and subtle paranormal presence creates a unique experience for every visitor. Guests leave the Coral Wave Lodge with stories of doors that open on their own, showers that run without hands, laughter that echoes through empty halls, and mornings spent waking on the balcony without memory of moving there. Every step, every sound, and every shadow becomes part of a narrative that is unforgettable. As night settles over Fort Myers Beach, the Coral Wave Lodge stands quietly against the moonlit sky. The sound of waves mixes with occasional laughter, the gentle rush of water from showers, and the creaking of floorboards. Doors remain slightly ajar, balconies welcome the ocean breeze. And shadows stretch across walls in ways that defy ordinary perception. The lodge exists in a space between the familiar and the mysterious, a place where guests encounter the unexpected while surrounded by the calming beauty of the beach. The Coral Wave Lodge is more than a seaside retreat. It is a space where reality and perception intersect, where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist in quiet harmony. Guests leave with memories that linger. Impressions of a place alive in subtle, unpredictable ways. It is a destination that invites exploration, reflection and the acceptance that not everything visible can be explained, leaving travelers with an experience that is at once captivating, haunting, and unforgettable. The Lighthouse Sands Motel sits along the windswept coast of Panama City, its weathered buildings bathed in the golden glow of sunset. By day, the sound of waves rolling against the shore blends with the cries of seagulls, creating a tranquil escape for travelers seeking the ocean breeze and sandy beaches. But as the sun dips below the horizon, the atmosphere changes. Shadows stretch across the property, and a sense of watchfulness settles over the grounds. Near the old lighthouse that towers on the property, a tall, shadowy figure is often reported. Guests describe seeing it standing silently, still as a statue, its features obscured by darkness. It does not move in the way living beings do, yet it seems aware, attentive, and deliberate in its presence. Some say that even from a distance, the figure exudes a weight, an almost tangible tension that presses against the air around it. Travelers walking near the lighthouse at night often hear low humming, a sound so soft it seems carried on the wind itself. A sound so soft it seems carried on the wind itself. The combination of the humming and the intensified surf creates a surreal experience, leaving visitors disoriented and uncertain if what they hear is natural or something else entirely. Doors and windows on the property hold a strange influence over time. Some will refuse to open for days, as if locked by an unseen hand, and then suddenly release a cold gust that sweeps through the room. This wind carries whispers, faint and fragmented, mingled with the occasional cry that echoes with emotion but cannot be traced to any person. The sensation is immediate, chilling, and impossible to ignore, a reminder that the motel is alive in ways beyond the ordinary. Guests report a variety of experiences within the motel itself. Some feel watched from the corners of their rooms, shadows that flicker just beyond clear sight. Others hear footsteps in empty hallways, slow and deliberate, moving in a rhythm that mirrors their own movements. The building seems to respond to the presence of its occupants, amplifying tension and unease while maintaining a subtle restraint. The lighthouse dominates the landscape, its silhouette stark against the night sky. The lighthouse acts as a focal point for the unexplained activity, drawing attention and curiosity alike. Travelers who approach it often describe a sensation of being observed, a weight in the air that grows heavier the closer they move. The figure, always near the lighthouse, remains motionless yet seems inextricably tied to the site, as if bound to the land and the structure itself. The motel's hallways and rooms are equally imbued with a sense of history and mystery. Windows rattle in the night, and doors creak under no visible force. Objects sometimes shift slightly, leaving subtle but undeniable traces of presence. These phenomena are not violent or aggressive, but their persistence leaves an impression on those who experience them. The environment feels sentient, responsive, and aware, creating a tension that is both fascinating and unsettling. Visitors often notice patterns in the activity. The humming near the lighthouse intensifies at specific times, coinciding with the rise and fall of the tide. The cold gusts through doors and windows frequently follow periods of stillness, a sudden reminder that the air itself is a conduit for the unseen. The combination of sound, movement, and temperature creates a fully immersive experience, one that engages the senses and leaves an enduring memory. Many guests attempt to rationalize what they experience. Some attribute the figures to trickery of the shadows, the wind, or the influence of the tides. Others accept a more mysterious explanation, acknowledging that the Lighthouse Sands Motel exists at the intersection of the natural and the supernatural. The consistency of reports across different visitors reinforces the impression that there is more at play than simple coincidence. The beach outside, usually a place of calm, becomes part of the experience at night. Waves crash with a strange immediacy, carrying with them whispers and faint cries. The shoreline appears altered, closer and more imposing. And the sand reflects moonlight in a way that highlights fleeting shadows. Visitors describe the sensation of the land itself watching, a presence both distant and intimately near. Guiding perception with subtle intent. Staff who spend late hours at the motel speak of a rhythm to the activity. Hallways echo with soft, deliberate sounds. The lighthouse figure appears with regularity, remaining still while the wind and waves intensify. Objects in the rooms react unpredictably, and the atmosphere itself feels charged, as if the building channels a long history into the present moment. There is an awareness to the place that cannot be measured, a consciousness expressed through sound, movement, and presence. Despite these experiences, the Lighthouse Sands Motel remains a popular destination. Visitors arrive seeking a quiet coastal retreat, unaware of the phenomena that awaken when the sun sets. Those who encounter the shadowy figure, the humming, and the cold gusts speak of a mix of awe and unease. A memory that remains vivid long after their departure. The property becomes more than a lodging place, it is a stage where the natural and the supernatural converge. Leaving guests to navigate the delicate boundary between the two. At night, the lighthouse stands as a sentinel over the motel. The waves crash unnaturally close. Whispers and faint screams. Doors and windows release sudden cold gusts. As if exhaling the history and presence stored within the building. The experience is immersive, haunting, and unforgettable. A reminder that some places hold mysteries that refuse to be ignored. The Lighthouse Sands Motel endures, offering a glimpse into a world where shadows move with purpose. Where whispers drift on the wind. And the ocean itself seems intertwined with the unseen. Visitors leave with the memory of the figure. The sound of the waves. And the chilling rush of air through doors and windows. It is a place where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. And where every night, the presence of the unseen quietly asserts itself. Waiting for those who dare to witness its silent vigil. The Atlantic Ghost Inn in Daytona Beach stands as a weathered landmark along the coastline, its exterior touched by decades of salt, sun, and storm. By day, it is a quiet place for travelers seeking the rhythm of waves and the warmth of the sun. Yet as night descends, the inn transforms into a space where shadows hold stories, and the air feels charged with unseen presence. The last room on the top floor has earned a reputation that draws both curiosity and caution. Guests who check in often experience sounds from the room next door, even though it is locked and untouched. Music plays softly at times, drifting through the corridor with no visible source. Footsteps echo across the carpet, each step deliberate and slow, accompanied occasionally by bursts of laughter that rise and fall in irregular patterns. The sounds are clear, real, and impossible to attribute to the ordinary. Guests report a sense of being watched. There is an awareness that intensifies when approaching the cursed room. Even from across the hall, an unseen presence seems to observe every movement. Shadows along the walls stretch unnaturally. And reflections in nearby mirrors sometimes reveal fleeting shapes that vanish the instant one looks directly. The effect is subtle, yet persistent, creating an atmosphere where tension and curiosity mingle. Doors to the last room remain locked, yet the phenomena persist. Objects may be felt moving slightly inside the room, as though nudged by unseen hands. As though nudged by unseen hands. The doorknob sometimes turns gently under pressure, without force or explanation. Hinting at a presence that interacts with the physical world while remaining unseen. While remaining unseen. Guests often pause at the threshold, drawn in by curiosity yet held back by an instinctive wariness. Hallways around the top floor are alive with subtle energy. Footsteps echo in empty corridors. Shadows glide along walls independently of light. The faintest whisper can be heard if one listens closely. The air carries a temperature shift. Cooler near the cursed room, accompanied by a feeling of quiet pressure. As if the building itself is attentive to those who enter. The inn becomes a stage for the unseen, where ordinary experience is heightened and perception is challenged. Many guests describe moments of direct interaction with the presence. A chair may tilt slightly, a curtain may sway as though brushed by a hand, or a glass on a nightstand may vibrate with subtle movement. These occurrences are never aggressive, yet they are unmistakable, creating a sense that the room holds memories and awareness beyond the living world. The presence does not demand confrontation but invites acknowledgement, drawing attention to the unseen forces at play. The music that emanates from the locked room is particularly haunting. Sometimes it is a soft piano melody, slow and deliberate. Other times, it is the faint strain of laughter mingled with the sound of a violin, drifting through walls and hallways. The sources of these sounds remain invisible, leaving guests with a sense of mystery and the impression that the room is replaying moments from a time long past. The experience is immersive, compelling those present to confront the tension between what is heard and what is seen. Lighting on the top floor contributes to the eerie atmosphere, sometimes capturing movement that is not there, hinting at a dual reality. Drawing attention to the unseen and amplifying the inn's enigmatic character. The cursed room has influenced behavior beyond its walls. Guests often avoid walking the corridor at night, while staff working late report feeling watched and sensed presences when passing by. Some describe the sensation of someone standing just behind them, though nothing is visible. The energy of the room seems to extend into adjacent spaces, creating a wider atmosphere of heightened awareness throughout the top floor. Despite its reputation, the Atlantic Ghost Inn continues to welcome visitors. The combination of history, oceanfront location, and the unexplained phenomena creates a space that is both alluring and unsettling. Each encounter, whether auditory, visual, or tactile, leaves a lasting impression, shaping memories and imagination alike. The inn becomes a living narrative, where past and present intertwine, and the presence within the locked room remains a silent observer of all who enter. Guests leave the inn carrying stories that cannot be easily dismissed. The music, footsteps, laughter, and shadows linger in memory, creating an experience that transcends the ordinary. The top floor, particularly the cursed room, serves as a reminder of the unknown, inviting reflection on the unseen forces that may inhabit familiar spaces. The Atlantic Ghost Inn offers a rare convergence of history, atmosphere, and mystery, providing an immersive journey into a space where ordinary reality meets the extraordinary. From the moment the sun sets over Daytona Beach and the ocean breeze drifts through the corridors, the inn transforms. It becomes a stage for presence, memory, and unseen activity. Shadows, sounds, and subtle movements combine to create an experience that is haunting, immersive, and unforgettable, leaving a lasting impression long after the visitor departs. Florida's coastal motels are not just resting places. They are doorways into the unknown. The ocean carries more than salt and sand. It carries whispers, shadows, and spirits of the lost. Some rooms close forever. Some guests vanish. And some haunt the halls endlessly, waiting for another traveler to arrive. Thank you for walking along these haunted shores with me. Remember, the waves are not the only things that can pull you in. Which of these coastal motels would you dare to stay in for one night? Until the next haunting. Stay curious. Stay safe. And never ignore the shadows beside the waves.